Yes, guys, you know what time it is. It's your boy David at the Irish Hotspur, Ireland's #1 Spurs fan, bringing you around the Kaniki Answer Me. And woo, the big hit is back, baby. Back bigger than ever, better plans than ever before. I hope everybody had a good Christmas. I did anyway. I know some people thought I was never coming back, but do not worry. I will never, ever leave you guys. I am back again. I'm so happy to be back. But first of all, we are joined by Jack. My man, thanks for picking up, while I was just MIA there, partying, having a good time, spending time with the fam. But how are you keeping, Jack?
No, it's good to have the Godfather back, Dave. It's good to have the Godfather back in the building. It's been going quite well. Me and Sean have been kind of vibing out over the watch-alongs. We had a good Crystal Palace match, not so good of maybe a Southampton match, but I will say we were quite level-headed, for that Southampton kind of, watch along. A lot of people to a degree kind of gave us credit for it, it certainly hasn't been the best without you, Dave, but it's gone, I think, still quite smoothly. Like I said before, Dave, it's good to have the Godfather back. It's good to have the Don back. I know the Don is a controversial word, Dave, but it's good to have the Don back.
No, look, yeah, Jack, it seems to create controversy everywhere we go, you know what I mean? But look, at the end of the day, Big D is back, and that's all that matters. Big D is back in town, baby. But Shawnee, how are you keeping, my man?
I'm good, Dave. I'm good. Happy to be here. Happy to be a part of the trio, the quad factor today, and excited. Yeah, it's going to be a good show.
No, it's good to have you in, my man. It's always lively when you're about. And of course, we are joined by the one and only Shane, aka Sam Spurs for Life from Paxton Road TV. How are you keeping, my man?
All good. I'm almost as good as you after your comeback on the comeback trail of having done a lot of excess over the Christmas, David. Yes, I'm happy to join you.
Now, look, I'm like Harry Kane. I take what Harry Kane does literally in life. I said I go MAI for a little while and just come back bigger and better than ever. That's what I said I'd do. I just act like Harry Kane for a little while.
See what they're missing.
That's it, man. That's it. Let's see what Harris Army are in the building with us today. We've got Chris, new channel member. Big yourself up, Chris. Hope you're keeping well. Killian Kenny's in the building. Big up, David Harris. Happy New Year to you and your family. Come on, you Spurs. Happy New Year to Jack Kanicki. Come on, you Spurs. Come on, you Harris Army. Come on, you Flat Cap Army. Enjoy the party, my man. Big yourself up, Killian Kelly. I hope you and the family had a good Christmas. And I hope you have a good New Year as well, my man. Tottenham Tantrum Gold is in the building. He says, ladies and gentlemen, it's the time we've all been waiting for. He is back, ready to take Spurs to the next level. He's the #1 Irish Spurs fan. He's the one and only David Hoddle, Irish Hotspur Harris. That's what we're talking about, Dermot. Big yourself up, my man. Hope you're keeping well. We have the regular Winks winning us the quadruple. Come on, you Spurs. Look, credit where credit is due. Credit where credit is due. He was one of the best players on the pitch against Southampton overall when I watched the game back. But he still pissed me off in the first half. But he's playing well. He's playing well. And Jack or Dermot also says, ladies and gentlemen, he's from Seattle, but come out of Brooklyn, New York. He's the man who will tell Levy and Conte who to buy. He is the one and only Jack Waddle, Statsman Kanicki. Big up, Dermot. I hope you're keeping well.
Fresh off 200 as well, Dave. He's fresh off 200 as well, Dave. The Harris Army, they provide. I mean, he said he couldn't get 200 by the new year, Dave. He's gotten it nice and early, a nice early kind of New Year's present to start off right. But Tottenham Tantrum Gold, they're pumping out daily content. And they're already fresh off 200, right? Nice and early as well. Big up, Dermot.
Nah, big up Tottenham Tantrum Gold. I keep telling Dermot he's not ambitious enough, He sets the targets too low. He needs to set the bar higher now, so he does. Big up, Dermot. Dark Sung G says, come on, you Spurs. We should beat Chelsea 3 times in January with their current form and injury crisis. I predict the 5-0 win against Watford. Pierre-Emerick Hojbjerg is still our 3rd highest goal scorer. He played bad because of Delhi yesterday. Yeah, no, look, I put out a Twitter post. It seemed to create a lot of controversy. Over 800 likes and stuff on it. It was a good one. Is Pierre-Emerick Hojbjerg, me personally, I think he's undervalued, underappreciated. That's just my personal opinion. But Dark Sun G, I see where you're coming from. And look, with Chelsea, seems like everything's going tits up. Big Rom, at the end of the day, he's not happy. So hopefully that continues, my man. Hopefully that continues, Dark Sun G. Adam's in the building. Big up, Adam. He says, hello, lads. Hope you're doing well. We're all good, my man. I hope you're keeping well, brother. Chris says, evening, lads. Big up, all. Big up, Chris. I hope you're keeping well, my man. We have Old Soul in the building. Big up, lads and ladies. High Beast underappreciated. Improved midfield attackers, left side centre back. Come on, you Harris Army. Come on, you Spurs. Big up, Old Soul. Very efficient, my man. One and done. One and done. That's what I call Old Soul now. Big yourself up, my man. Para Miguel Escobar all the way in from Lagos. Good evening, all. Big up the dynamic duo. Big yourself up. Big yourself up, Paro. Hope you're keeping well. Have a good Christmas, my man. Shamu Van Spurs, we forgive you. Yeah, Skinny Kelly was saying he has to head off to bed early. Big up, Shamu. I hope you're keeping well, my man. Zoe's in the building. Big up, lads. Zoe, I hope you had a good Christmas. I hope you had a good one. Big yourself up. Dan Coy says, come on, New Year's Day. I mean, transfer window. Yeah, also, the whooping that Watford will remember for a long time. I'm telling you, he's back. The man is back. He's going to bag a hat-trick against them. Son's going to prove all his doubters wrong, over the last few weeks. I'm telling you, one of these teams are on the end of a hiding. I just think it might be this Watford team, Danny Boy. And then, of course, the transfer window opens up, which we will end up delving into, my man. So big yourself up, Dan. I hope you're keeping well, brother. Still Call says, Winks should leave along with Dele and Doherty. If not, Conte will regret it big time. No, look, everyone's entitled to their opinion. Wait and see what I have to say about the situation. We'll wait and see. But not a bad shout, Still Call. Not a bad shout. Dtrex Kane is in the house. Joe Grimes, evening all. Hope everyone had a good Christmas. My man, I had a good one. Hope you enjoyed yourself. The regulars in the building. Big yourself up. Guapo's in. What do you guys think of Hojbjerg? He's class, my man. Class. It's Brick House. It's Pierre-Emile Brick House, my man. Put some respect on the guy's name. Moondog's in the building. He says, good evening. Big up, Moondoggy. I hope you're keeping well, brother. We also have Mark Cousins. Good evening, lads. This is from Tottenham Tantrum Gold. Where's the statues? At least need one of Jimmy and Bill Nick. Yeah, 100%. Could not agree more, my man. Could not agree more. We also have Kuva99. Big up, everyone. This episode could get spicy. That it will, my man. That it will. Adam Phillips said Hojbjerg is a bit of both. Yeah, I can see where you're coming from, but to me, he's the Brick House. Brian Maguire says, any word on Bob Spur? I've not heard anything. I haven't really heard any updates since the last one either, to be honest with you, Brian. But look, if Diego pops in to the chat, I'll tell him to give everyone the update, no problem.
Yep.
Alfie Goslin says, hope all is well. What is your opinion on Winky staying? We'll get into it. Ishan Khan is here. Big up, you guys. Big up, Ishan. ATX7 Gaming. What's good, David? Jack and Sean. Come on, you Spurs. Zanuska Ramshunder, good evening, guys. Hope you're all well. Nice to see you back, David. Big up, Zanuska. Hope you're keeping well, and it's great to be back. John Stokes says, yes. Big up the Flat Cap crew. Big up, Johnny Boy. I hope you're keeping well, my man. Who else have we got? Make sure we haven't missed anybody. I don't want anyone throwing their Christmas toys out of the pram. We've got Holly Agambar. She says, Winksy. Big up, Holly. I hope you're keeping well. In fairness, she stuck through him for 3 years. So you did, to be fair. And then left-sided centre-back, right wing-back and creative midfielder in that order of importance. Come on, you Spurs. Let's get back on track this January. Couldn't agree more. Joseph is in the house. Happy New Year to all the Harris Army. Let's go, David, Jack, and the panel. William McKenzie's in the building. Big up, lads. Come on, you Spurs. Truth sets you free. Big up, everyone. Love and peace to all of you. Big yourself up, my man. Just make sure Derek Hutchinson is in here as well. Leon, Kyle Patrick Vineyard. Big yourself up, my man. We have CCH. Hope you're keeping well. Hope you had a good Christmas and New Year. And we have Rez Cobain says, good to see David back, and big up, everyone. Big yourself up, my man. I hope you're keeping well.
Big up, Mr. Cobain.
Huh?
I said, big up, Mr. Cobain.
Big yourself up. And Mokheen says, Delhi just needs time to improve maybe next season. Wow. Well, look, for me, he's a walking light bulb. I don't think that's going to change. And Dom J is in the house as well. Big yourself up. But look, that's everybody that's in the building. Everyone, make sure you do smash the like on the stream, to subscribe on the channel if you are new and you want more content. Trust me, it's only ramping up from here. I've had a couple of days to sit back, rethink about. I've got some major plans for the channel to elevate it to the next level to get to 10K. So make sure you stick with it, guys. And look, feel free to get your super chats in and help support the channel. I know it's a busy time of the year, but at least get your answers in the chat and we will bring them up regardless. But Jack, it's time to hand over to you, my man. Let's throw some spice on this show.
Now let's throw some spice on. I just want to quickly say to Amzo, who's celebrating 4 months, David, as a gold member, saying big up, David, Jack, Sam, and Sean, and people in the chat. Hope you all had a good Christmas and wishing everyone a great new year. Come on, you Spurs. I mean, David, absolutely class act by Amzo there. Just probably just representing the vibes, just representing, the entire chat in the building and the entire Harris Army, just wishing everybody well. I will say, class act there, Amzo, and celebrating 4 months as gold member as well. So big yourself up, my man.
Amzo, when are you going to come on the fan show, actually, Amzo? You may make an appearance on the fan show, my man.
Definitely come on and also send in your post-match thoughts as well, Amzo. But we are going to go into it straight away, and we're going to be talking about Harry Winks's purple patch of form. And Sean, I figured I'd start with you first because, I feel like, Sean and I recently have been kind of talking a bit about it, too much maybe regarding Harry Winks, Shane. So I figured I'd ask you first. And, Harry Winks, he's been likened by Antonio Conte for that hard work, especially in the training ground, especially apparently his overall effort in the training ground as well as on the pitch is really likened to Antonio Conte. Will this hard work and patch of form potentially make Antonio Conte think twice about getting rid of Harry Winks? Because before, Shane, we were talking about getting rid of Harry Winks. There were a lot of rumors, him going over to Newcastle. Do you feel like somehow he's, miraculously and quite shortly, kind of got himself back into the squad?
So this is going to be very confusing tonight. So I'm Shane. Obviously, you've got Sean, but I'm Sam as well. So just to make it easier, I'm going to call myself Sam for now. Just so it don't get too confusing. I'll go for
Sam for tonight.
Because otherwise, I thought he was talking to him.
I thought you were talking to me for a minute, and then you changed.
Too many four-letter names. Too many four-letter names.
That's exactly what I thought. Anyway, let's speed it up. So the question about our main man
Harry Winks. Do you feel like he's a lot of hard work
Harry
Winks, a lot of hard work on the training ground? Has he got himself back into the squad for you? Somehow he's fit himself right back into Antonio Conte's plans all of a sudden.
I would say obviously Antonio Conte would have had more time to see Harry Winks than we have. We've only seen him for 2 good games since his renaissance. And Sean Hurler, Paxton Rowe calls him the Winks Naissance. He's turned something around, but it's only been 2 games. He has played well in those 2 games. He probably was man of the match in the last game for us. In a bad game. It was a game that we should have won and we didn't. But I do think Harry Winks did stand out of all the players. Has he done enough to be kept in the squad? Has he done enough? I would say yes, based on the fact that we haven't got that many midfielders at the moment who are on form. Hojbjerg is not quite on form, although he's a player that I 100% want to keep in and around the team. We can't just rely on Oliver Skip as a one-man band in the middle because there's nowhere in sight of Lo Celso. There's nowhere in sight for Tanguy. If you want to hang your hat on Dele as a midfielder, do so, but I'm not. So we are limited on the numbers that we got. Winks has proved that he can play this number 4 role where he's not having to do too much work, not having to go box to box, but does enough to keep the play ticking, get the ball forward. I think that's the main thing that he's been told by Antonio Conte, play forward. And I'm liking that fact. He's not the sideways crab that he's been for the last X amount of years. He's getting the ball forward and he's been effective in doing that. So for 100%, I think we need to keep him until we get better.
Interesting. Again, this is why I love having Shane on. It gives you kind of that level-headed, almost philosopher's approach, sometimes to some of these answers. You can't phase them. You can't phase them sometimes. You can't get them, locked into, a controversial answer. But Moondog in here saying no Winks to go. There are better players out there currently at the moment. I think that's,
let me
potentially
finish
the case with a lot of players.
Yeah,
Shane.
Let me just say.
Obviously,
if we get better, we would have to get more. Because I've been calling Harry Winks number 8 for months and months and months. I didn't want to mention. But if you go by the players that Antonio Conte's improved so far, we've had a number of players that we've seen play better. So he's obviously doing something. We've seen Eric Dyer. We've seen Ben Davies of 2. Oliver Skip, 100%. Harry Kane looks like he's improving as well now. You put Lucas Moura into that mix. Harry Winks, he's probably improving. Is he the best player that we could get? Well, until we get better, we've got to keep him. I'm saying keep him until we get better. But at this moment in time, would I keep him in the squad? Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Yeah, I think that's a very level-headed approach. And Moondog, to be honest, as much as I feel like there are better players out there, he's doing a decent job at maybe, fighting for his spot while maybe others aren't fighting for that spot. And I would say, Moondog, maybe this is a great opportunity to transition this towards maybe Sean Butler here. I mean, Sean, compare maybe Winky's, hard work with the and effort, to maybe Tanguy and Ndombele, somebody who we apparently thought that Antonio Conte has taken a liking to. Do you feel like maybe what shows here with Antonio Conte's squad is that if you show that hard work, if you show that effort on the training ground as well as the pitch, maybe that kind of gets you a spot in this overall squad in comparison to someone like a Tanguy and Ndombele?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, Jack, I don't know if you've seen the comments that Conte made this afternoon about Harry Winks and about Tanguy on Dembele, but his opinion was the contrast was pretty illuminating, right? Him saying, Winksy's playing well, he's shown to be a reliable player. He's definitely, Winksy's going to stay here. So the question around whether we should move him on, ultimately, if Mr. Conte thinks he's a good man to have around the team and he's done enough, he's reliable and trustworthy, then I'll back Conte's decision. And obviously, what you said about Tanguy, I know we're going to talk about Tanguy later, so I'll save it. But it doesn't read anything like the same. Conte's opinion of him, all he could basically tell the journalist was that he was a midfielder. Didn't want to give anything else away. So I think Conte obviously has very different opinions about the two players. For me, to Sam's point, Winksy has only played 2 games. 1 swallow doesn't make a summer. 2 swallows does make a story. There's a lot of noise about him now. People are starting to see him turning the tide. But, and I think he did play well against Southampton. But, Jack, I was on the show with you then. I didn't think he was man of the match. I thought Harry Kane was. I know a lot of other people thought, he was pretty, he was involved in all of the kind of important parts of the game. And especially the goals that were disallowed. So, I'll tip my cap to him and say he's definitely looking better. A couple of things I'd like to see before I make my mind up on him. Certainly, if we can sign better players in January, what happens in the January transfer window is obviously going to change everyone's opinions depending on what happens there, how that whole thing shapes out. And there's lots to talk about in that field. But I'd also like to see how Skippy plays with Winks for a couple of games, because I think that Skippy is showing every week more and more that he is the future of the Tottenham midfield.
Right.
And so we haven't really seen enough time with Wink, or any really that I can think of, with Winksy and Skip. We all hope that the two of them are going to gel and blend well and play well together. Let's see that hopefully against Watford. And then maybe in one of the cup games against Chelsea or in the league against Arsenal or Chelsea. Let's see how they play together. If they play well, 100%, there's a decent spot for Winksy in the squad. But until then, I'm going to...
Time will tell.
Time will tell,
yeah. Great answer. And Moondog David, I will say to Moondog, he's absolutely transitioning all of my questions right well. He might as well just run the show himself at this rate, Moondog, to be honest, because he's saying right here, David, it took him 3 years to have 2 decent games. And I was going to actually ask you, David, and I'm almost kind of like going a bit improv here. But Dave, at one point, we did a bit of the research. In fact, Harry Winks, as much as I think there are a lot of people that kind of stuck by him, he was a part of some of the most embarrassing results of my own lifetime as a Spurs fan. That 7-2 defeat to Bayern, that 1-1 draw to Middlesbrough, that 2-2 defeat, or I believe, felt like a defeat to Rochdale at one point, the Ghent, kind of, fixture where he lost 1-0 as well as a 2-2 draw, the Antwerp defeat, the Zagreb defeat, the Man City defeat, the Paços de Ferreira defeat, the Vitesse defeat, as well as that 3-0 Crystal Palace from this year. And I believe when we did that show, David, it took over 4 slides in order to include all the defeats that he was, starting and being a part of. As much as he's had 2 decent games, it's taken him 3 years, I guess, to do so. I mean, what's happened to Harry Winks? I mean, how is it all of a sudden that, we're kind of talking about him in such a decent light? I mean, what's changed?
Two good games. I mean, look, we're talking about a fan base where every majority of them wanted to sell Harry Kane, but they want to keep Harry Winks. I mean, I just don't understand it. Look, we're talking 2 good games since the Real Madrid performance. It's absolutely ridiculous. Look, the thing is, his fragilities are still going to be there. Yes, look, you know what I mean? Should we be praising him because he's no longer marking space? I mean, he shouldn't be marking space in the first place. Should we be praising him for passing forward? I mean, it's took him 5 years to find a set of cojones. You know what I mean? That's what I naturally expect from a midfielder. In terms of, to be honest with you, look, credit where credit's due. He's stepping up. He's playing well. But, I mean, there are things that I expect from a midfielder regardless. Getting stuck in, not marking space, getting your head up, looking to play forward where you can. You know what I mean? It's all things I expect. Look, he had a good game against Southampton, but, I mean, the only reason why I would say keep him right now is because you have worse with Ronald McDombele and Gio Lo Celso. I mean, and Dele Alli. So that's, for me, is the only reason why you keep him, just purely because he will actually run around a bit more. He actually offers maybe a bit more than what they do. But is he good enough to stay here long term? Let's not kid ourselves. No, he's not. At the end of the day, I still maintain this. He is not strong enough to be playing in centre midfield whatsoever. He will get bounced around against some of the bigger teams, against bigger oppositions. He will get bounced around. For me, look.
Do you feel like we're forgetting about all those results that I mentioned before, David? Do you feel like we're forgetting about all those results too soon?
No, do you know what, Jack? I can't forgive him. I can't forgive him. I really can't forgive him because some of the performances I've seen this guy put in the Spurs jersey, it's just below acceptable, especially from an academy product. Look, I know some people may say I pick on Winks, this, that, and the other, but at the end of the day, I mean, he's just not good enough, in my opinion. There's a lot better out there we can go and get, but we're at a phase in this squad where we have to get rid of players who just don't want to live like a footballer, don't want to be here. You have to get rid of them, and purely because he runs a bit more, and he's found a bit of cojones, we're keeping him. And that's it. If we're actually being realistic about the situation, that's the only reason why we're keeping him. I mean, I can't forgive him being missing for the last 3 years. I mean, at this stage, he owes me about, 60 games now in a row of being consistently good. And at the end of the day, I mean, it's 2 games. I want to see consistency out of this guy. I'm not calling for him to be in the starting 11 yet either. I want to see consistency. I think Hojbjerg and Skip, they have a good partnership in there to gel well. And I think that's what we should be rolling out until Skip.
Can I say something then?
Still keeps coming up and putting in the performances.
No, all I want to say is I'm agreeing with David because, as I said, Harry Winks has never been my favourite player. I don't know if we're talking about Harry Winks going forward to be the main player, or are we talking about in the interim whilst we get to January transfer window, summer transfer window. If it's long term, if we're looking long term, Harry Winks is not the solution for what we have. But what I would say is, given what Conte's done, and I'm looking at the players that he's improved, I wanted Eric Dyer out. He's now one of our better players. I wanted Ben Davies out of the club. He's now improved as one of our better players. Sanchez, I didn't even talk about him. I didn't want to know about him. He's another player that's really improved. Oliver Skip, we've already talked about, and we could go a few more players. Harry Winks, Harry Winks could be in that boat where he's improving game by game by game. I look at it like this now. I look at Dele Alli. Has he improved markedly since Conte's come in? No, you can get rid of him. As Tango and Ndombele, no, he's not played. So obviously something's gone wrong. Get him out. Lo Celso, has he played? No, keeps getting injured. F him off. Now, if we get rid of all them 3 midfielders, we've only got Harry Winks left and Hojbjerg and Skip. We can't do that. So what should the players have improved dramatically? Those players have. Hojbjerg needs a rest. I can clearly see that he's not playing at the same level he was last season because I think he's played too many games in a row and has just been constantly battered. Harry Winks, of all them other 4 players that I've mentioned, is definitely the best of a bad bunch, if that's how you want to put it. But if we can get better players, I agree with you. He's not going to be in midfield. He's going to be bossing and bouncing because he's too lightweight. But if you play him in that number 4, where he's got a bit more space and he's told what to do by being coached by the world-class coach that Conte is, his game's going to improve. Let's see how much his game's going to improve by, say, January, February time. Do you know
what, Shane? I get you, right? But for me, I don't want my manager telling players what to do. I want them to give them an idea or help them improve. But at the end of the day, you're not going to win titles if you have to have a manager constantly telling Harry Winks exactly where he needs to be, what he needs to be doing. And same with some of these players. Yes, they've improved, but you're still seeing mistakes creep into the game. And with the level they're at now, that's their ceiling. They're not going to get any better. We know this. We've seen these players for a long, long time. But what I want is a player that can read the game, has instinct, can react on instinct as well, that doesn't need to be told exactly what to be doing, because that's why we don't win trophies around here. Because you need someone to dedicate the whole game to Harry Winks. You need someone to dedicate the whole game to Dyer, just to keep them switched on, just to tell them what to do. We can still do better.
Dave, let me ask you this then. Peak, if you're looking at Hojbjerg, or everyone actually, peak Hojbjerg, right? I think, I know we're going to talk about Hojbjerg later, but I think he plays with his heart. Everyone loves his passion, his energy, his leadership. But I feel like his potential, his 10 out of 10, we've seen. I can't see him going again. I don't think we're going to see a world beater in Pierre Hojbjerg. I don't think if we're a Champions League team, I don't think he's a Champions League player. I think Skippy, we're just getting to start with. He's just in second gear at the moment. We don't know how good this guy can get. Winks, we've seen him better. We've seen him a lot worse. He's now somewhere in between. If you had to pick peak Hojbjerg or peak Winks, who would you rather have? 10 out of 10 Hojbjerg versus 10 out of 10
I
Winks?
think I got to answer this, Sean. I think I would still go for peak Hojbjerg because, maybe the basis or the origin of this question had to do with the fact that the reason that Winks has gotten into the squad in the first place has to do with all the hard work and all the passion and all the effort that he's put in on the training ground, according to Antonio Conte. And, a lot of people call, Hojbjerg a bit of a passion merchant. And, when you kind of think about it, potentially that's kind of the way that Hojbjerg has gotten himself. If I were to be maybe harsh on Hojbjerg, that's the reason why he's gotten himself into, Mourinho's squad as well as Conte's squad. So maybe when you think about it, potentially they're both going to fit into, Antonio Conte's plans because they work hard on the training ground. They work hard on the pitch. They work hard when it comes to, studying what he wants them to do. And so that, to a degree, probably process of elimination, like Shane was bringing up before, when it comes to certain players, they will get a spot in the squad, whether it be the starting 11, I'm not sure, but they will get a spot in the squad just because of the hard work and the passion that they, are showing. I would say Hojbjerg has certainly shown it over a much greater period of time than Winks has ever had. But you might say that's what's getting him a spot in the squad. And then I might transition this just quickly, and then we'll move on to these super chats. But maybe final answer here, Dave. And I want to get your answer on this because, Tanguy Ndombele kind of now pops, and he's almost like the elephant in the room when it comes to passion, hard work, effort, all these things. Do you feel like the reason why maybe Tanguy is not getting picked anymore and potentially might leave come summer or January is because he's not offering the passion, the hard work, and the effort on the training ground as well as the pitch that maybe Winks is now offering, or Hojbjerg or other players?
It's down to application and dedication at the end of the day, Jack. That's the reason why Ndombele will be frozen out and Harry Winks is still here. Obviously, probably a bit of the homegrown rule comes into it as well, somewhere along the line, I'd say. But look, with Ndombele, I mean, look, I've said it before, he could be one of the world's best midfielders if the guy tried. But what his problem is, like Dele Alli, like Lo Celso, they don't want to live like footballers. They want the lifestyle that comes with football, but don't want to live like footballers. And that's why you're not going to see any better out of any of these guys. They just don't have that sort of dedication. Yes, they may turn up to training, they may run about, but they don't want to be footballers. I mean, look, these guys have too much going on outside of football, too much of a good time. You know what I mean? Look, I have no problem with footballers doing things in their spare time, but I mean, the very best footballers, the one that are driven, which is what you want at your club, driven footballers who want to win the accolades, who want to be top scorer, the most assists, best defender. You want them sort of footballers at your club, almost a bit like selfish in a way, because they're the ones that are going to drive you forward. Ndombele just doesn't have it. He couldn't care whether he plays. He couldn't care whether he sits on the bench or whether he's at home getting a massage. He couldn't give a flying cahoot. Whereas Harry Winks probably does care. I mean, we've all seen him go knocking on, or heard him go knocking on Jose's door begging for first team football. So, look, it's just, honestly, it's just that Harry Winks would not be here if our money was invested right into the right players at the right time. If we would have got Bruno Fernandes over Lo Celso, Winks is further down the pecking order. If we would have got in a better player than Ndombele, Winks wouldn't even be anywhere near the squad. We wouldn't even be having this discussion.
That's a good comment there. And Ben Kaufman in here with the super chat saying, great panel tonight. Big up Big Dave and Jack and my sometimes co-host Shawnee Boy as well. Big up Ben Kaufman.
Big up Ben.
And also really appreciate the support, my man. Hopefully as well, the coffee was brewing in all right this morning because Dave, I will say that guy's probably got one of the nicest looking coffees probably in the entire North London area. So he does. But big yourself up, Ben Kaufman. And also as well, everybody go over to Tottenham Tantrum Gold if you want to see a bit more of them. They just hit the 200. Kuva99 saying big up the Peaky Blinders look again, lads. But did you know Sean is rocking a legit Bugsy Malone flat cap tonight? I think it might squeak.
So my dog is called Bugsy Malone, and my dog got hold of this hat earlier and was was chewing it, so I had to get it back before the damage was done.
Sounds like you need to get the dog his own flat cap at this rate. It seems like Sean. Seems like he's just jealous of each one you get.
I never got that memo, by the way.
We iced you out. We iced you
No,
out.
Scran, you just need a kind of polish. You know what I mean? We wear this because we don't have to gel our hair. You just need the polish line. You're laughing.
And he's got the beard over us as well. He's got the beard over us, Dave. So we can't give him too many good looks for this one. But big up Kuva99, and there you go. That's all I'll say Kuva. Sean needs to get his dog his own flat cap, because it seems like the dog just keeps getting a bit jealous. Moondog also really appreciate the support. Moondog, he's saying it wouldn't take a lot. Make them better because they was crap, and that's a fact. Yeah, and I think again, Dave, I mentioned the results that Winks has been a part of in my lifetime. It was 3 slides long. Like, it was, I think I listed about 7 or 8 results that are some of the most horrific, if not appalling, if not embarrassing results that we've had in our lifetime, probably, David. And Winks was starting in every single one of those. And as much as I want to praise Harry Winks, and I probably have been praising Harry Winks, especially in the watch-alongs, I certainly have. But if I'm gonna say, I'm going to come out of the woodwork saying I've supported Winks all along, I just can't, because he's been a part of some of the most embarrassing results in my lifetime. And I just feel like you can't really overwrite that. You can't say he was played in the wrong position. You can't say, he's supposed to be this sort of player, because he's been a part of some of the worst results of our lifetime. And it's just, I don't know. I feel like it's just so many excuses under the sun. I really am happy, though, that Winks is, getting a spot back in the squad, because he's showing something that we say is the bare minimum that David was talking about, as well as Sam was talking about, which is just hard work, passion, effort. And those are the things that can get you back into the squad.
If we're being honest, right, you're praising Dyer for defending. I mean, is that not what he gets paid for in the first place? You're praising Davinson Sanchez for defending. I mean, is that not what he's employed for at the club? You're praising Harry Winks for doing what a midfielder should be doing. If we're sitting here being honest with ourselves without getting carried away, I mean, look, I get carried away all the time, by all means. But I do have reality checks sometimes, and if I'm sitting here being honest with myself, are they blowing me away? No. We're only praising them because they're actually doing what they're supposed to be doing.
One thing I would just add, though, one other thing I would add, just with regards to that list of obviously the games, Jack, and I'm only playing devil's advocate. It'd be interesting to see how many more other players are on that list that are currently playing now, i.e. the likes of Eric Dyer, potentially. You could probably throw in, I don't know, Lo Celso, Son. You can throw in a load of players. I just want to know the numbers, because obviously Harry Winks doesn't make an 11. He makes up part of an 11. So there would have been a load of other players as part of those awful results.
Ben Davies was part of those lists a lot as well. I know there's a bit of overlap 100%. There.
So my point about that is, have we seen improvements in some of these players, particularly in Conte's reign? Yes. Of those players, who were those players that weren't very good before? We've already named them. Eric Dyer, Ben Davies are definitely 2 of them that you can completely dismiss, in my opinion. Sanchez, I think he's been forced to play well because we haven't got Romero. Had Romero been fit, I don't think Sanchez has been playing. But I do believe that Dyer and Ben Davies have been playing. Harry Winks is a different matter. Whether or not Harry Winks is just being played in a more isolated position, because he's only played in a 3 in the last 2 games that he's played well. He ain't played in a 2. I don't believe he can play in a 2 and perform well. The problem we've got is, if he plays in a 2, I think we're going to see the Harry Winks of old, and everybody's going to get back on his case. So I believe we have to play him in that number 4, or just behind those front, or 2 midfielders in front, and give him that ability just to, to be, our kind of like Pirlo. If it's not at that level, don't get me wrong, but that player who's going to have loads of time and space, but all he wants to do is just play forward, pick that pass out. That's what I want to see Harry Winks. That's all he's really capable of doing. If you put him as a box-to-box midfielder, he's going to fall flat on his face. 100%.
I worry about him, though, Shane. Sometimes when he's too close against Southampton, he loses concentration twice. He gave the ball away, one that was almost criminal. I know he caught up and made a good block in the end, but I take your point. It's better to have him in the pillar role if he can ping those long balls. Of the players that we're talking about that we'd have in the squad, he's the best passer of the midfield 3. But I worry about him being too close to the back 4. If we do lose possession, sometimes I just don't think I think he's sloppy defensively.
I agree with that.
So, yeah,
I agree.
The only problem with that idea, I think, is that when we lose the ball, if he loses the ball, there's not many people going to be behind him to clear things up.
So that's what I'm saying. I'll be very, very interested to see him, because people talk about Hojbjerg and Skip playing as a partnership. They played in the 2. Again, I'm not quite sure those 2 complement each other enough, because I always think you struggle with two midfielders if they're both not dynamic enough and they don't have enough pace. And those two don't have enough about them pace-wise to go box to box with Skip. Skip has got more potential, but Hojbjerg, I don't think so. If you put three in there, you've got a bit more different dynamics in the actual squad and the actual team and how you play. That's where Harry Winks can come in. If we see him play against...
Are we not going into territory by doing that where we were with Ndombele, where we're saying adjust the formation just to fit in Ndombele?
And that's my point. So you're saying is he good enough to play a combined or different types of roles? No, he's not. Is he able to play in that role just behind and Peter Pirlo? I think he is, but no, not as a two, in my opinion.
You have to cater to him, but maybe that's what gets his spot as a squad player, to be honest. Maybe not as much as starter, but he could maybe get his spot as a squad player, and is, kind of specifying what Shane said there, in that sort of Pirlo-esque role. Not to say he's ever been close or ever will be close to Pirlo's ability, but that would be the similar role. And especially in the 3-5-2, we certainly saw the best of him in that sort of position. So, as a squad player, he's making a case for himself. Kuva99, he's saying, if we're really talking long term, then I'd say there's barely 5 players worth keeping in the entire squad if we're aiming for titles. I think that's the case, Kuva99. And also that makes me think as well, Dave, at a certain point of William Kelly's, I think very insightful, or it could have been Socrates, as I forget it, Brian C. Socrates as well. I forget which one was always saying this. I think it was William Kelly at one point, Dave, where they were saying, we talk about, getting rid of the deadwood, and we've kind of unloaded that on Paratici, saying, oh, Paratici's got to get the deadwood out. He's got to get the deadwood out. But we've maybe failed to appreciate or recognize the fact that it could take seasons, let alone a one season. It could take multiple seasons, multiple transfer windows to get rid of all of the players that we think are not good enough in the squad.
No, look, do you know what? There's going to be a couple of these players are going to end up staying around here for a couple of years. Let's be honest with you, whether it's for meeting homegrown quarters, whatever. Some of them are going to end up staying here. But I genuinely believe you're getting 1 or 2 this window, you're getting another 3 or 4 next summer. You have a squad fully capable of going and challenging, because you don't need 11 world-class players to win anything. You need about 8 players that are consistently 7, 8 out of 10s. And then you just need 2 grafters in the team. You always need that heart, that fight, and that desire. And again, hard work beats just raw talent. And that's why Skip and Hojbjerg are rolled out in midfield over Harry Winks every single time, because they work harder. But look, if we're being real, you probably Kane win your titles. Son will win your titles. Reguilon probably as well. I'd put him in there. Romero maybe. There's 4 that I can think of right now. I'd probably put Emerson in there as well. Hugo Lloris. There's 6. Apart from that, you need to fill in the positions. Look, I know the title on the show when it comes to Hojbjerg, but the thing is, Hojbjerg and Skip are supposed to step in and out for each other. They're not supposed to be playing together. We all know this.
100%. Agreed.
No, but at the end of the day, I mean, the reason why they're rolled out there is because hard work beats talent. You see it with Ndombele, you see it with Celso, you see it with Harry Winks and Dele Alli. Have all the natural raw ability and talent they want. If you don't apply the hard work, well, then you get nowhere. It's just like a normal job. The hardest working ones are the ones that always get the promotion sometimes, because, they work harder than everybody else. They're more dedicated. And that's why Skip and Hojbjerg are rolled out. So, look, I reckon another 2. I reckon do a good window this January, a good one in the summer. There's no reason why we can't be challenging.
Just got to shout out Big Kuva. He's come today with the extreme delusion straight off the bat. We're not going for top 4. We're chasing titles. And he's immediately ready to just slash half the team from the starting 11 and get rid of the entire squad, because we're chasing titles now. Big up, Kuva.
We're only 20 players away from winning the title, Sean. It's not that hard to imagine. We're only 20 players away. Paz Radfire saying, which of the big 4 clubs will play Davies/Winky? This is also something I've heard a lot of recently, Faz, and I think it's interesting, because I will say Ben Davies has been another renaissance, as Sam or Sean brought up, Shane brought up earlier. I mean, I think Ben Davies is undergoing a renaissance at the moment. He was actually at the top of my list at one stage when he was playing fullback as maybe someone to get out. And now all of a sudden, he's, potentially showing maybe his worth. Would they get into the top 4? Absolutely not. Neither of those 2 would get into the top 4. Do they have a spot in the squad, which might be the theme of the show? they're probably making a really strong case for it. They're making a really strong case for maybe keeping their spot in the squad. The starting 11, I think we could certainly do better than them for the starting 11. But at this moment in time, they're making a good case for themselves.
So if you think about it, though, the top teams who have got the best defenses, Man City, you could say Liverpool, you could say Chelsea. If you look at all of them, they've got Ricketts in there. Chelsea have got Rudiger, who wasn't a very good player before Tuchel came. He's improved. You look at, what's it called? Liverpool, Matip. He's alongside a Weldy and Van Dijk. So that makes him look better than he is.
Right.
You look at Manchester City, at times that they've had in there, who have they had? They've had to keep rotating because John Stones had to come in there. But it's only recently that they've even settled it. So they've still been really good. The point is, they've got worldies alongside them. If you've got really good players and a really good coach, you can make players better. So to say that Winksy and Dyer can't get into the team is probably right, but it's no point in saying that they can't be improved, because obviously they have. The same with those players in those other squads. They've been improved. Pep Guardiola's improved their defense. Tuchel's improved Rudiger as a player.
Right.
I was looking at those players wouldn't make it last year.
He was shocking.
But those players,
but they're still at the top.
Winksy and Davies wouldn't make it into any of the top four, though, would they? That you wouldn't find Winksy and Davies
I totally
Chelsea
agree.
or Liverpool or Chelsea or maybe even Man United or Arsenal.
Well, they've got McTominay and
Arsenal,
Fred.
maybe.
That's what I'm trying to say. McTominay and Fred are not Man United players, but they're still playing every week, even with the manager roll-up that they've had. So they must be doing something right. And David's alluded to it. It's the hard work aspect of it. If you've got players that are going to run through brick walls, regardless of their ability, a manager's going to choose them over an Ndombele that's going to give you 1 out of 10 games. Because that don't make any sense to have someone who can play one brilliant game, but 9 other shit games. When you've got someone who can play 9 out of 10, and his other game might not be that great, but he's consistently playing for you to do. That's why these players play. So just look at what we've got and who we're looking at. If you had 11 worldies, fantastic, but we're never going to have 11 worldies in our squad or team.
No, I guess not. That's a great point. I do agree with you. Sometimes world-class manager, world-class players alongside them can make them look a whole lot better. I completely agree, Sam. Moondog here saying Winks would lose even if he was the only one on the pitch, David. I know this is kind of the old banter, which we certainly are known for when it comes to Harry Winks. And I will say, at a certain stage, it's still sometimes quite warranted, but I do want to be quite kind to him considering his... Sorry, someone's leaving a message on the dad's phone. But yeah, Dave, take it away. He would lose if he was the only one on the pitch.
Do you know what? Look, he's improved, but his mentality also has to improve. The reason why some of the last couple of games he's flew into a couple of challenges, but he does need to switch his mentality as well. Rather than, just going out there, going through the motions, which sometimes I feel like he's been doing, especially over the last few years. It's kind of like just get out of the game unscathed, not really making too many mistakes. He needs to change that. He needs to have a mentality like Bruno Fernandes, for instance. Like Bruno Fernandes walked into United dressing room, and straight away there was an improvement. You see them out there bollocking players, dragging players forward, telling them what to do, telling them what he needs. You don't see Winks do that. He's too timid. You need more out of him. He needs to be more vocal. At the end of the day, it hasn't really changed much. But when I was growing up, if you wanted to play in centre midfield, you had to be hard. You had to be comfortable on the ball. But you also had to be a leader, as you were never going to play in there. Does Winks strike me as a leader? No, he wouldn't even lead a conga line in a wedding. Let's be honest. Look, for me, he's one of them players, like Shane was saying, if you put 2 players hard working around him, you can let him be in there and do his thing because people can't touch him. But Conte's not going to play that way every single time just to suit Harry Winks. So, look, at the end of the day, he's not a leader for me. And, you don't need leaders throughout the whole team either, but you need leaders throughout the spine. And centre midfield is a part of the spine of your team. And for me, he's not that leader.
Great. Honestly, guys, and Moondog, really appreciate the support. Kuva99, really appreciate the support. Faz Radfire, big yourself up. Great talking point as well. But honestly, we covered Winks, perfectly. And I will say he's earned a spot in the squad, I think, is the conclusion at the end of the day. He's earning a spot in the squad. The starting 11, I'm not so sure. But he certainly has earned a spot in the squad with his purple patch of form. That is the case. But guys, moving on to maybe the number 10s. And this is kind of interesting because I will say, especially since I know that Sam has been on this lots of times before, and he probably even recognizes this question, where we've talked a lot about our talented number 10s. Which one will win the favor of the manager? Which one, will take a liking, to the manager? But it seems like none of the 3 are, and those 3 are Dele Alli, Tanguy Ndombele, and Giovanni Lo Celso. Maybe, Sam, is it fair to say at this moment in time that potentially none of these three players will actually be in Antonio Conte's plans in the future.
Okay, right. So it's a bit of a positive and negative about them all. The positive thing is they've all got specific places which they play in. That's a positive thing. The negative for them is I don't think they are what's the word? Adaptable enough to change their game. Tanguy, we've already seen he has to be in a certain position. You probably have to build a team around him in that number 10, give him a kind of free role so he doesn't have to do as much work. Is that what Conte is going to want from a player? No. Dele Alli, we see on a left-hand side playing in almost like a striker, just behind the striker role, can make them runs in behind. Brilliant. You played him on the right against Southampton. You look awful. That's because he's not playing in a position where I think he's going to be much effective. So he's only really got one place to play. Lo Celso, I don't even know what's happened to him. I thought of all the three, he was probably the most versatile, the most adaptable. You could play him on the left. You could play him behind. You could play him as one of two in midfield. You could even play him as a number 4 just behind the two midfielders. He looks like he just doesn't give a toss about Spurs. And I don't know what his best position is. So for them 3 players, you can't build anything around them because they're not adaptable enough. At least with someone like Oliver Skipp and Hojbjerg, they're adaptable. Hojbjerg can play as 1 in a 2. Although he hasn't played as well lately. He can play a little bit further forward, as he's proved with Denmark. He can play a little bit further behind, as he's proved in our team. Adaptability and hard work. Tanguy, we can't build a team around him. I don't think he's worked hard enough. Dele, his best days are gone. He's done for me. And Lo Celso, it just hasn't turned up for us. We don't know what he is.
Doesn't exist at this rate. Yeah, I completely agree. And well broken down, Sam. I will say if I were the panelist, I'd struggle to find, any nuance after that. But I'm going to, put the pressure on Sean here. I mean, Sean, do you feel like there's no future potentially for these 3, sort of number 8, number 10 midfielders of Tanguy, Gio, as well as Dele? Do you feel like, a long time ago we were asking, on this channel lots of times, like, which one will win out, because we all thought one of them would win out, the favor of the manager, but it seems like none of those 3 are winning the favor of the manager. Is it possible that all 3 won't be in, Antonio Conte's plans in the future?
So, first of all, I don't think that Conte has a lot of history playing with a 10. Right. I don't think he doesn't usually like that role.
Good point.
Didn't like it in Italy. When he signed Christian Eriksen, he remolded him into a centre midfielder. So I don't think it naturally suits the position for the formations that Conte would like to play. And of the 3 of them, they've all got stinky, shitty attitudes, right? They all we know about Dele and Tanguy, but Lo Celso's no stranger to a late night trip to Paris. He prioritizes his international football over his club football. I don't know how you get injured on a warm down when you didn't even warm up. All of those things just, don't ring. It doesn't make me feel like there's a lot of good vibes or good energy coming out of Lo Celso. But I don't think Conte's had a chance to see him yet, right? So we haven't seen him under a Conte system. So of the 3, if you're going to give any of them a break, if you're going to give any of them a chance, for me, it's going to be Lo Celso that gets the shot at the moment, purely based on the fact that the other 2 are so disappointing. Yeah. But the only other thing that I'd add, I agree with everything Sam said. The only other thing I would add is you do need at least one to hang around. If you can get rid of 2 of them in January, you need one, unless you can bring someone in to replace it, right? Yeah. So I think that what happens in January, if dream world scenario, you sign someone like Vlahovic and Conte wants to have the 10 role, then in order to play Vlahovic, Kane and Sonny, you might need to make Kane drop back and play the 10 role, in which case you then don't need a Lo Celso. You might not even need the midfielder, the CAM kind of role as much as you would otherwise do if you didn't have Vlahovic, because Kane is just as good at threading passes. He's just as good at the vision, just as good at the first touch as any of the players that we would like to see in the role. So depending on what he wants to do and depending on what happens in January, will answer a lot of the question. But as it stands right now, if you're going to get rid of 2 of them, I think you get rid of Dele and Tanguy and give Lo Celso one last chance to get his fitness up, get his attitude better. But I'm not hopeful of any of them really turning the corner. I just don't think that they have their eyes on the ball, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, honestly, well broken down by the two of you there. To bottom Duda saying Conte likes Winks and eventually we'll see a 3-5-2. Of course, this is the formation that, absolutely rejuvenized, Inter Milan, under Antonio Conte. Would you build that 3-5-2 around Harry Winks? I think what the panel obviously was kind of saying earlier is he probably shouldn't. I think he could play a decent role in the squad. He could fill in this 3-5-2, but I would say there's certainly better players out there that could fill that role that Harry Winks does. And I think everybody at the end of the day could probably agree on that. What the role that Harry Winks plays in a 3-5-2, there's certainly better out there. Has he made a case for himself to stay in that squad in that 3-5-2 role? I'd actually like to think so. I actually like to think that he does, kind of so far has proven that he maybe has a spot in that squad to bottom Duda. But I completely agree. Eventually, he probably wants to move to the 3-5-2. And Harry Winks might have a spot in that role. Moondog is again, coming in here, Dave. Big up, Moondog. Really appreciate you, my man. He says we shouldn't be talking about these players. They should already have been gone.
Yeah, spot on. I mean, they shouldn't even have a chance to rejuvenate themselves. I mean, 3-4 years, honestly. We have a podium finish of world champions of high go seek, first, second, and third. We could even fill out another podium beside it for a junior championship if we wanted to. Let's be honest about the situation. Let's tie it back into the question you just asked, Jack. End on bye-bye now. Finish with him. Ronald McDombele has to go. Conte doesn't want him. Jose didn't want him. Nuno tried. Couldn't even get himself fit under Pochettino. Bye-bye. Yeah. 5 managers, 5 slaps in the face. Don't want to hear it anymore. Don't want to hear about, you can play in this system, you can play in that system. At the end of the day, he's a puppet on a string. Unless the manager's going to be out there holding his hand, running around beside him, he ain't going to move. He's not good enough. He doesn't care, doesn't want to be here. Get him gone. Does not set a good example for any player that's on the periphery of the squad that's trying to push to get into the squad. And doesn't set a good example for any player coming through the academy. Because believe it or not, there's going to be young kids in that academy that are going to think Ndombele is the bee's knees. He's got a cool haircut. He has his name on the tongue of his boots, whatever it may be. There's going to be players out there, young players. You do not want to be anything like this guy. You want to be the furthest away from this guy you possibly can be. You go on to Dele Alli. Look, credit where credit's due. Hit the heights. Don't gave us some terrific memories.
Correct.
But I mean, honestly, sometimes, it's like sticking with your girlfriend, even though she's cheating on you week in, week out, you just stick with it. He's not going to get any better. He's not going to perform. Get him gone. He's turned into a walking light bulb. He's blue one day, red the next day, yellow the next day. He's at home. He's on Fortnite. He's out doing all this stuff, boo-hoo and everything else. And look, people can say, yeah, he should be allowed to do stuff outside football. Yeah, okay, by all means, go and do your stuff outside football. But then don't expect to play in the Premier League and don't expect to win any trophies because you're just not going to do it. If that's the way you want to live your life, go and do it. Because the people that win stuff are people that dedicate themselves to football. You look at Harry Kane, he has his missus to fucking tie him down. You look at Son, he has his father to tie him down. And they live like footballers. They eat, sleep, and breathe football. Dele Alli couldn't give a toss. Finished training, going off to boo-hoo shoot. Finished there. I'll nip on a private jet to Paris, come back. I think I might play a bit of Fortnite. No, not good enough. Get him gone. Lo Celso couldn't give a flying fuck what he does on the ball. I don't care less. He doesn't care what he does. As long as he gets, he's like, do you know one of them say, for instance, fat kids, knows nothing about football, never played football, but does a skill move on FIFA and he thinks the player's quality. You know what I mean? He's just shit. That's what Lo Celso reminds me of. It does an outside of the boot pass. He looks good, gives this to the camera, everything else. He doesn't care what he's doing. He couldn't care. I've seen it time and time again. I go back to some of the Europa League conference games. We get up ahead. You start seeing Lo Celso doing stupid, sloppy passing, giving away the ball. He's one of these players that he gets overconfident. He starts getting sloppy. He doesn't take enough care of what he does. Yeah. With all 3 of these players, you don't want any of them in and around the youngsters. You don't want to send any of them to the youngsters to train them, give them advice or nothing like that. They're not good for them. They're all examples of what not way to live your life. I mean, Lo Celso's only fit every Argentina game. You know what I mean? You do not want to be anything like these guys. All 3 of them, I would get rid of. I wouldn't even keep one around for the sake of keeping one. Bring up
David, let me say something.
If he's training the first team now, bring him up.
If you had to keep one, because I think we ain't going to be able to get rid of all 3. It'll be I just don't think we can do unless we have three that are definitely going to come in.
I'd send him to train with the under-23s. That's what I'd do if I had to keep one.
Mate, the hardest one to get rid of though is Ndombele, right? He cost 65 million.
100%.
He's on 200 grades on 10 million pound a year. Everybody who's seen him is going to look at him and say, I'm not paying anything like those salaries, and I'm not paying anything like the asking price. You hope that Daniel Levy is going to take this approach, and he hasn't given me any reason. As much as I'm more of a pro Levy than most people in the world, he's never filled me with much confidence when it comes to fair valuations. And the one thing that I hope he does this January, if possible, he needs to think of it as not money lost if he sells him for cheap, but it's money saved. Because even if it costs 65 million to buy the guy, and it's a 60 million salary budget over the 6 years that he would have been at Tottenham if he was to stay until the end of his contract, it's 125 million. That is a sunk cost. It's done, right? So what you have to do is get him out for 10 million. If it's 10 million, that somebody else will say we'll take him, and the money that we're saving in the transfer we can cover his wages, because he's not going to go anywhere if a club is going to say, oh, you can come here, but we're only going to pay you 80 grand a week because that's all you're worth. Or 50 grand a week because that's all you're worth. So he's the hardest one to get rid of. I don't know how you get rid of him unless you really take a massive loss and think of it as money saved, not money lost.
Take a massive loss and you sack Steve Hitchen who brought him in. Simple.
Yeah.
But I don't even think you could just get rid of the player that easily, because even if you take, let's say someone comes in and buy him for £1 and we'll pay whatever it is, he's still got to get them. It's the wages which is the problem.
Yeah.
Footballers these days don't care. We know that. They don't care who they play for. He's not a Tottenham lad. Why is he going to be bothered? It doesn't appear that he's even bothered about playing football, because if he was, he'd be making more noise about leaving the club. He might have whined and said, I want to leave, but he hasn't left. Oh, well, I've not left. I'm getting 200 grand. It's very comfortable at Tottenham. I've got the best stadium in the world, the best training ground, the best facilities. I can enjoy my life as a footballer and not play football.
Would you loan him out?
Can I ask you a question, Shane?
Yeah, you can. Sorry.
With Ndombele, would you do what you've done with Aurier? Cancel the contract, because what that then does is it sends out a message. You're not coming to Tottenham to dick about, because we'll just cancel your contract and leave you in no man's land. It's up to you to come here and perform.
No, if you're cancelling the contract, you're paying sorry, you're asking Sam, aren't you? Sorry, mate.
Yeah. And that's what I was going to say. You either have to come to an agreement with the player. The problem we've got is I think his contract runs till something like, is it 2025? It's something ridiculous. It's a long,
yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's a long contract. So you have to come to an agreement at 200 grand a year, 200 grand a week, 10 mil a year. Wow, that's going to take some negotiation to try and say to him, well, you got 4 years left. I'm only going to give you of your 40 million or 10. Oh, no, I'm going to stay here for 4 years, mate. If you're not bothered about playing football, which I don't think he's that bothered about playing football. He's not bothered about getting into the France squad, because if he did, he would have moved on. He's not bothered about, even performing for these managers, because if he did, we've had three managers coming in the time that Poch has left, he would have performed. He hasn't.
Yeah.
He's comfortable. It's easy. 200 grand makes it a lot easier to stay at a club than 100 grand a week.
I'd loan him out. If it's the only way to get him off the books, loan him out. Do what Real Madrid did with Bale to us. Loan the guy out to Italy.
Yeah.
Well, even if it means that, like, I don't know, let's say Inter Milan or AC or someone in Germany, wherever he'll fit. If they say, yeah, we'll have him and we'll pay 100 grand of his 200 grand, even if that's the case, right? You let him go for a year. That's the
best way.
Get him out of the club. Just you're going to save 5 million quid a year in salary just by and still paying half his wages. Send him out somewhere where he can play football. See if he can fall in love with the game in a style of football that suits his languid approach to it. Because he clearly isn't happy in London from the day he arrived. He looks like he's an unhappy person. So maybe he needs to go to a nicer climate. Needs to go somewhere where it's sunny more often. I don't know what's wrong with him, but. Anyway, we can get him out. I don't think we can sell him. I don't think anyone's going to pay any money for him.
No one's going to pay that. And I think that's the perfect scenario for him. Just like what Bale did. Bale didn't really mind coming to Tottenham because he knew he was still going to get his wages. Had they said Spurs are going to pay your wages, he won't be coming to Spurs. So that's the same sort of scenario with Ndombele. Send him to somewhere in Spain. I think he'd be ideal at some club in Spain or even Italy, where it's a lot slower pace, blah, 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 blah. And he could be a worldie. But someone's going to have to pay half his wages, and we're going to have to pay half his wages. And if he, as you said, falls in love with it and becomes that world beater again, he might have some sell-on value, and someone may take a punt on him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hopefully you enjoyed that answer, Moondog, because I will say the panelists are absolutely on point today. I will say that, honestly, they gave you their best there. Really well broken down by the entire panel. William McKenzie saying, I think Tanganga could play CDM. Don't have to agree. People won't like the sound of this. I mean, William McKenzie, if anything's an unpopular opinion, I would say that one is. I will say I love the praise of Tanganga. I will say I'll take it any day. I absolutely love Jaffet. Could he play CDM? Probably not. If you're talking about a CDM that's more of just, there just to break some bones and maybe potentially put in some harsh tackles, I would say Tanganga is definitely your man. But I feel like he is just more a guy that just gets stuck in for a living. And I guess that's what you're talking about. If you really just want someone just to get stuck in for a living in whatever part of the pitch you want him to, Tanganga is your man. But in CDM, potentially not the best spot for him. But I like the unpopular opinions. I like the brave opinions.
Do you know what I think Tanganga would be? Do you know what I think Tanganga is? If you want to mark a player out of the game, I know it's a bit old school. You probably don't do it nowadays. If you want to mark someone and mark them out of the game, Tanganga's your man to do it.
The problem for Tanganga, guys. The problem for Tanganga, I worry about him. I'm like you, Jackie. I love Tanganga. I love his energy. I love his aggression. He's like an old school centre back in the 80s, right? He just throws himself into it, gets stuck in. The problem is that under a Conte 3 at the back formation, you need your centre backs to be ball playing centre backs, at least 2 of them, right? One of the guy on the guy on the right or the guy on the left of the 3 needs to have the ability to push up slightly, needs to be able to pass, needs to be able to ping long balls. And Tanganga's weakest point is his comfort on the ball, right? He's not a good technical passer yet. I know he's young, but I don't think he can distribute the ball to the level that a centre back in a back 3 needs to. And I don't think he's agile enough and certainly not offensive enough to play in a right wing back role. I love the guy. I want him to be a huge success. I'm very happy to keep him in the squad, but I don't know how he can, unless he fixes his ball playing abilities. I don't know if he'll ever be able to start in the formation as Conte likes to sort of set the back up.
Well broken down, I will say. And just want to say, William McKenzie, I'm loving the praise of Jaffet. If Marcelo were on the panel right now, he'd probably make a case for you as well, William McKenzie. But I will say it's a fantastic and very brave, unpopular opinion. But I would say he gets stuck in for a living. Hopefully he can make his way at center back. Debottom Duda saying, and Ndombele is a goner. Lo Celso is Sensi 2.0. This is a great comment. I feel Ali is staying. None of Vlahovic, De Vrij, Kessié, De Ligt are coming in January, as per Romano, brokenhearted. I think Lo Celso is literally the definition of Sensi. He was that guy over at Inter Milan. I think it was like 3 seasons ago, maybe 2 seasons ago, just like Lo Celso, to be honest, had a great 7 months, 8 months over at Inter Milan. All of a sudden, just injury after injury after injury after injury, and has just faded into, I don't know, almost like extinction at this rate, kind of like Lo Celso has. So I would say he is the Sensi 2.0. In Ndombele, I hope he's a goner, but I guess we just discussed how hard he is to actually get out of the club, as broken down by Sam and Sean earlier. And then if Dele Alli is the one to stay, I don't know. That just seems also a bit. I just want all 3 of them gone, and I think we've already slammed that home. And to bottom Duda, it's quite sad. I feel like we're still in line for Kessié. I've seen a lot of rumors that supposedly we're kind of actually leading the line for Kessié. Vlahovic seems like a bit of a stretch, but I'd like to say that we could get him at least over Arsenal, which is always a good sign. De Ligt, I feel like, is a bit above us, but to bottom Duda, that's my answer. Big yourself up. I would say Lo Celso is the Sensi 2.0 is a fantastic comment. It's a fantastic comment. Honestly, great.
We're not getting, and even all those players on that list that you put up, Jack. None. Even if we were to get one, we still need more than one player. I can't see us getting that many players in January just because of the market.
It's probably only 2. I think we're only getting 2 in January. I think we're only getting 2
and if
in
we
January.
only get 2, we've already seen that our squads are quite light anyway, so we're going to need these. We're going to need these players to improve. We might have to get rid of one of them, or at least not have them in and around the squad if they're going to cause problems. If someone like Dele Alli, if you keep him around the squad and he's causing problems because he's not playing and he's moaning and it bringing the squad down. You have to do something. You have to get him out of the squad, just like what Arsenal have done with Patrick Aubameyang, Aubameyang. Get him out of the squad. You just got to keep him out of things. But we can't just get rid of all these players because we're not going to replace them. So either when we get injuries, suspensions, we're going to need to rely on these players. The ones that we're going to need to be able to rely on are the ones that are going to work hard for Conte. He's already said he knows what his players are. He's evaluated them. That's why we ain't seen Ndombele. He's not playing for Conte. He's not a Conte player. I can't see him turning this around now. No chance.
Yeah, I can't see him either. I really can't. Lo Celso is Lamela without the hard work. I think, to be honest, Lo Celso, I just don't really know what a Lo Celso is anymore. And David has probably heard me say that about plenty of players. And, these days, I just sometimes see, I guess before Ben Davies had a good patch of form at one stage in time, I didn't know what a Ben Davies was. I didn't know what a Lo Celso is. I will say still to this day, I don't know what he is. Is he supposed to be a number 10? Is he supposed to be number 8? Is he supposed to be a football player? I really just don't even understand it anymore. I guess what he's supposed to be is, kind of like a test dummy on the operating table, because at this rate, the guy is honestly so great at being, at the medic's chair, Dave. He could probably just be better off as a cadaver or something like that. I'm not sure. But Lo Celso, I mean, he didn't have Lamela's hard work. I would say Brian Hill, is a good shout for maybe potentially being the Lamela replacement, because at least he offers a bit of hard work and a bit of passion, but I don't know what a Lo Celso is anymore. Big yourself up though, Clarky. And Leighton Evelyn, big up Leighton Evelyn. It's good to see you as well. He says, David, true story. And I will say, this is all allegedly. This is all allegedly. I'm just going to say, on the behalf of the Irish Hotspur, this is an alleged scenario. David, true story. My friend's cousin is an escort, and she recently been to Delhi's house. This was weeks ago. Get him out of our club.
No, look,
that's one of the best comments I've seen ever.
Allegedly, this is all alleged. But
look, let's be honest. I mean, what men don't like women? I mean, look, I'm not begrudging him having a woman or two. I mean, if that's what he wants, it's just, I just criticize him on his football, and that's it. I mean, look, if he wants to have a good time, I mean, go and have a good time, but just don't expect to play football if you're not going to live like one. If you're not in bed early, you're not eating the right things, you're not doing extra work at home in terms of recovery and stuff like that, don't expect to make the top. I mean, there's a reason why he wasn't at the last Euros. There's a reason why he's not in the Tottenham squad. You know what I mean? There's a reason why he's had such a fall from grace. But unfortunately, because of the length of the contract he was given not so long ago, I mean, he just has time to sit around like Ndombele, doesn't he? Look, at the end of the day, if that's what he wants to spend his money on, I mean, why did he only get one? That's my question. You know what I mean? But,
I guess you can only spend so much money. Dave, you can only spend so much money on Fortnite skins and crayons in your head. You can only spend so much on those two. So I guess he had a little bit of money left over. But Leighton, just want to say, allegedly, big yourself up. Absolutely, big yourself up, Leighton. Big, honestly. Amir Sardar, big yourself up, Amir. Absolute legend as well. He says, Hojbjerg is a beast, I think, answering the title, for this show. He says, Winks looking like Iniesta. Conte is a genius. Great show tonight. Wishing everyone a happy new year. Please check out Open Peace Podcast. Amir Sardar, everyone, please head on over to the Open Peace Podcast. Amir is sending some big ones, I think, in, this year as well. Just want to big yourself up. As well. And honestly, absolute legend at one stage. I think one time on Weird Time TV fan show, he and I were just talking about various hummuses and just beautiful kind of like dishes as well. And he and I were having a bit of a food out as well. Probably something that Tongi probably should have joined in on. I must say, would have been talking food and deliciousness for a while. But Amir, just want to big yourself up. Loving the Hojbjerg praise also as well. If Winksy does turn into a Winkiesta, I mean, I'd be happy to see it. But hopefully it could happen over a more sustained time period, and also absolute legend for, setting the example and wishing everyone a happy new year and spreading the positive vibes. So big yourself up, Amir. Really appreciate you, brother. Really well done. But we are going to move on to the next question, everybody. And I want to start with Dave on this one, since, he hasn't yet to open up the questions yet. Dave, somebody that has, I would feel like, maybe received a bit of, kind of criticism so far, and maybe rightly so. But, we've been talking about bolstering that right wing back position. Some fans have been very disappointed / frustrated with Emerson this season. What are your impressions of maybe Emerson so far? And do you think Matt Doherty is good enough to even be competition for him at this stage. So Dave, maybe first to start, what are your impressions of Emerson, and do we need maybe to, you know, bring someone in instead of Doherty to compete with him?
Look, Jack, all I really want to say on this is anyone that's really kind of getting on Emerson's back, I mean, let's just put back in Aurier and Doherty fighting for right wing back. No problem. I mean, you know, just this is the thing. Just think back to last season. I mean, if it wasn't Aurier, it was Doherty. Now, we can go back to that if that's what Spurs fans want. At the end of the day, we bought this guy in to improve our team. Has he improved the mistakes coming from that side of the pitch? Yes, he has. Could he be better going forward? Possibly, yes, he could be better going forward. But at the end of the day, he's made the most tackles in the Tottenham jersey this season. You know what I mean? So he's solid defensively down that side, which is ultimately what he was brought for. I mean, Aurier gave away the one of the goals in the cup final, the free kick, stupid free kick to give away. You wouldn't see Emerson make that mistake. Doherty got done time and time again by the same move against Arsenal. Yeah, okay, Emerson's been done once or twice this season, but it's going to happen over the course of the season. But I mean, just give the guy time to settle in. We're so quick to want to judge these players. We're so quick to want to call them out. Oh, they're not as good as we think they are, this, that, and the other. But yet the people still defend Dele Alli, still defend Harry Winks missing for 3 years. We're still defending Dyer and Davies for 3-4 years. But yet want to slay Emerson, who's been here, 3 months? I mean, it's absolute ludicrous. Absolute ludicrous. Yeah, is he limited? Potentially. But like I said, let's just put Aurier back in, no problem. They'll all be crying then. Everybody will be crying. There'll be more people crying. Just get off his case. Give him time to settle in. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, he's better than Aurier. He's better than Doherty. Give the guy time. Get off his case. People actually, even last season, let's be real about this. People wanted to keep Aurier because statistically, he was the best right back in the league. The guy was absolutely shit. He was shit defensively, but he was good going forward. Couldn't give a crap. The amount of times that guy pissed me off, made me have to take blood pressure tablets, make mistakes, same as Doherty. Get off Emerson's back. He's improved and limited the mistakes coming from down that side. Just let him be. Let him settle. Stop looking for problems. Stop, like, people make Paratici the problem. People make these new players the problem. They're not your problem. The problems were all here before they got there. Simple.
And I've Sean, I want Sean to finish it, because I've heard his, maybe his thoughts on Emerson. And I think, they've kind of changed, but not changed. And he's offered some valid, points on Emerson. But Sam, I've yet to really hear your thoughts ever before. And, I do watch, Paxton Row quite religiously. But what are your thoughts maybe on Emerson so far this season? What are your impressions of the player? Do you feel like, we need to probably bring a bit of competition in that position, to maybe kind of help him out and kind of encourage him to be a bit better? What are just your impressions of Emerson so far this season?
So one thing before I start, I think fullback, wing back positions are probably our weakest positions in the squad in terms of depth. If you look at the left-hand side, it's only Region, and he's going to have what? Sessegnon, when he's fit, he's not fit enough at the moment, and Ben Davies. And Ben Davies plays better as a left-sided centre-back. On that right-hand side, you've got Emerson and you've got Doherty. Okay, looking at Emerson, I think he's definitely an improvement on what Aurier is, but he's been asked to play two different positions. As David's alluded to, he's only been here since the summer. He's been asked to play fullback. He's been asked to play wing-back under two different managers. So he's still getting used to being here, still getting used to being into a system that is actually comfortable for him. I think he's better off as a wing-back than he's a full-back. The reason being he's going to have potential coverage. If he goes forward, you've got the extra centre-back at the back. So that's going to make his game look better going forward. I think he's rugged enough defensively anyway. Has he got enough competition? No. If I was him, I'd be like, I could play anyhow I wanted to play. Doherty's not getting in this team. And at times, that's how he looks like he's playing. I don't even have to have a great game today because I've only got him coming in, so I'm going to play next week anyway. I think with competition, it being pushed a little bit more, I think he could be even better. Yeah. Can he improve going forward? Yes, he can. Has he improved so far in the last few games going forward? I think he has, because we're now a team that has more of the ball. We're now a team that's creating more opportunities. And we're a team that has to create them from wide areas because that's what our wing backs do in a Conte team. They're the areas where they've got to get in the box to be part of the the forward lineup when we're high up the pitch, but they've also got to create with, you know, the link in the play, playing that ball down the side, crosses in the box. So there's very, very, very important players. Is he going to get better? I hope so, but he's going to need competition.
But the thing is, Shane, as well,
I was just going to say follow-up, actually, you know, to Sam here. Sorry, Dave, but we found, and this is my personal opinion, of course, but Sam, you know, I feel like last season, you take yourself back to last season, at one point, Reguilón, I feel like, was receiving similar criticism, but in the opposite effect, where we were saying he's great going forward. He offers so much going forward, but he can get caught out defensively. And I feel like Emerson is kind of in that same predicament where he has no competition in that spot. And in fact, is obviously the best choice there, but we see these kind of things where he's lacking in. But the point is that same situation with Reguilón from last season was, there was no competition there. There was no one that was actually clearly better or clearly could compete with him. So we kind of were just stuck with what we got and stuck with what we had. Do you feel like what the situation was with Reguilón last season is the same situation that we have with Emerson, where yes, he has his deficiencies, but he's the best we got at this moment in time?
Yeah, but again, I go back to the point. Fullback is a different position to wing back. You know, when you're a fullback, if you are an advanced fullback, if you look at the likes of Trent Alexander and Robertson for Liverpool, probably two of the best fullbacks in the world. But we exploited that. We exploited the fact that they're so far up the pitch. If you've only got two centre backs, you're going to have the space in behind. Players can look better depending on the system that you play. Emerson will look a lot better in a wing back formation than he would a fullback. When we was under Nuno, he was chopping and changing. He didn't play a back three. He played fullbacks. He's not going to look as good because he can't be as advanced because we didn't create any chances. But even when he was going forward, he's probably getting caught out because we didn't have the defensive coverage. So again, if you put all that together with the fact that he's only been here since bloody June, July, whatever it was, he's got to improve. As he got better, of course he's got better. And I think he's going to be a great player for us. But we definitely need to strengthen in that position. He needs competition.
Do you think that he could reach Kyle Walker levels? Because, I mean, you look at Kyle Walker, over time, he built himself up, you know, made himself stronger, made himself more athletic, never really lost the pace. In fact, the more powerful his legs got, the more quicker he got as well. And I see it all there with Emerson. I do think he can reach that level. Would you agree?
So what I would say about Kyle Walker's biggest asset was his pace. So even at a fullback, his recovery got him out of trouble so many more times. It was because he wasn't the best defender, and I think we all realize that. But going forwards, there was not too many attacking players on that wide side, even for players who play naturally further forward anyway. Kyle Walker was one of the best, but you had to kind of compensate for him defensively, but he also compensated for himself because he had that pace. I'm not quite sure Emerson's got that lightning pace that Walker has. So that's why the wing-back position will suit him much better because he doesn't have to recover as quickly if we play the system right. Full-back, though, I'm not quite so sure. I'm not sure.
No, you know, maybe just quickly before I get to Sean Butler here, COVID-99 just finishing up the Delhi situation, saying escort or not, I bet Delhi still didn't score.
We've got to stop this. It's not.
I mean, he couldn't finish a training ground goal in front of Allison. So at the end of the day, you know, I bet he didn't score, you know, at his own house. But yeah, David, sorry.
Shit.
Yeah, no, I'm just surprised with all his money. It's not escorts instead of escort. I mean, disappointed with him, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, David, like I said, I think he spent too much on the Fortnite skins and the crayons in his hair. So, you know, at a certain point, he couldn't afford it, I guess. But there you are, Kuva. Pick yourself up, as always. S. Powell saying, my cousin works in KFC. And I'm just getting a bit out of hand here. My cousin works in KFC. She says
allegedly.
Another allegedly. This isn't allegedly. Supposedly it could have been 3 minutes, so allegedly. But yeah, finished it at 5 minutes. LOL. I will say as well, you know, the whole McDonald's scenario with his bin buckets as well is also a big fat allegedly as well. Big fat allegedly. But you know, I will say I'd love to compete with Tanguy because I think I could finish a bucket faster than him. I would like to think that I could. So, you know, I would say, you know, the challenge is on Tanguy. The challenge is on. David seen me cook my own, you know, fried chicken as well. And I will say, you know, I probably could finish it faster than Tanguy can, which is just, you know, saying something, you know, really is saying something. But William Kelly, I will say, just probably because I'm a bit hungrier than Tanguy is. I think Tanguy is quite well fed. William Kelly saying, I have a feeling this will be a poor January transfer window, as per Levy and Lewis. Great to see Chelsea imploding on the inside. I think a two-part here, Dave, maybe just quickly to answer William Kelly. Do you feel like this will be, a good January transfer window? And then I'll answer the Chelsea part.
I mean, look, we're not expecting 4 or 5 signings. Let's be real. You're not going to do that mid-season. I'd be happy with 2 signings, but 2 signings of quality, 2 signings that you look and you say, yeah, they're ready to come in and prove the first 11. That's what I'd be happy with. I'm not expecting massive amount of signings whatsoever. I don't think anybody should be, but 2 signings where they improve the first 11 would be a very good window in January. You might see potentially another one on loan, but look, who knows? Like I've already said before, this January transfer window could be different. You have Newcastle looking to spend money to stay up, so they'll be looking to pinch maybe players on the periphery of our squad and clubs at similar level. And then they've had fans back in the stadium, so there's actual cash flow available to them, actual cash. So might be a bit different this January transfer window compared to other windows gone by. We'll wait and see.
Yeah. And then in terms of Chelsea imploding, I think it is fantastic to see. I must say, Thomas Tuchel at one stage, I think he will kind of repair it in whatever ways he can. He's kind of been dealt, certain awkward hands of, not having strikers available, not having certain players available, and he's found workarounds. And to a degree, they're still sort of finding results, but they are kind of imploding at this moment in time. Would you say that's Thomas Tuchel's fault? I wouldn't really say so. But at the end of the day, William Kelly, it is glorious to see. I will say it is glorious. I'm absolutely loving it at this point in time. But big yourself up, William Kelly. Hopefully that's well broken down. And S. Powell, like I said, to Leighton Evelyn, big fat allegedly, but, potentially, could be true. But I don't think I've gotten to the rest of the panel here. And I do want to finish off on Sean. What are your impressions, maybe, Sean, so far of Emerson? Could he turn into this Kyle Walker that, has been spoken about before? Or do you feel like, maybe there's still a lot more to be seen?
Yeah, I think it's still early. Look, David was saying a lot of people were calling out Emerson early. I was definitely one of them. I've been saying it for as long as I've been on these podcasts. I think that the right back or the right wing back slot on any team in the Premiership is by far the most understated in importance. You need somebody in the right wing back role who can defend, who's fast. Well, first of all, the physical attributes. You have to be fast. You have to have a great stamina. You have to be agile. You have to be tall to defend the back post. You have to be 2-footed. You have to be able to, on the offense, you need to be able to whip the ball in. You need to be able to also cut in and shoot.
Just quickly on those defensive markers, though, I feel like Emerson fits that bill maybe on those defensive aspects. He is quite tall. He can track back. He's been one of the best defensively. But sorry, I know I'm interrupting your point midway, which I don't like to do. But, maybe on those first little attributes that you mentioned, I guess he does have those similar to Kyle Walker did.
He's certainly improving week in, week out. When I first saw him at Tottenham, and I know he's 22 or 23, however, he's a young guy. I know he's brand new to the league, didn't speak the language. So can't criticize him too heavily, but because of how important I think that right wing back slot is, I didn't think I saw something in him that made me that much more comfortable. I used to feel like I saw him getting beaten down the outside far too regularly. He didn't give away the free kicks that Aurier did.
I want to speak about going on the outside. You're trained to as a fullback or as a wing back, you're trained to let them go on the outside because especially nowadays with the inverted wingers cutting in, looking to have the shots. Yeah. Because back in the day, you had a right-footed winger playing on the right wing, left-footed winger playing on the left wing, but it's different now. You have a right-footer playing on the left and a left-footer usually playing on the right because they're looking to cut in, play them post to back post, get their shots off. So you're trained to actually show.
Yeah, but he wasn't letting them go down the outside, mate.
And back your ability. What would you rather? Would you rather do what Doherty done against West Ham and let them come inside? Only Skip saved his ass.
No. My point was going to be that I feel like he's getting far better, but at the start, I didn't think he was showing them down the outside. I think he was getting turned inside and out, and then they were just beating him down the outside. Right. So I would rather. It depends on the type of player. If the guy is better, if the person who's got the ball is better on cutting in, like I'd rather see Sonny. If I was defending against Sonny, I'd rather show him down the outside than let him cut in. Right. But yeah, depends on the person who's got the ball and how well your opposition, whether they're stronger footed, how and what they're more likely to do. I take your point, and I definitely think he's improving over the last month. I think he's getting more and more comfortable, more and more confident. I think he's getting better. I still don't think that he is anything like good enough at the moment, but I certainly don't want him to lead the club. But to Sam's point, I think that Doherty can absolutely get out of the club. I think he's useless. I think he offers absolutely nothing at all for the club on the left, on the right. I think he's just a shocking player who's out of his depth at any level in the Premiership. And so I definitely think we need to strengthen and build, get some more strength in depth and competition for that right wing spot. Don't want Emerson to leave. I don't even necessarily want him to be dropped. I just would like somebody there to offer a different option, a better option that we can compete with, because Doherty's not the guy. And my opinion of Emerson is improving over time. But if you're going to play, the last thing I'll say on it is that if you are going to play a right wing back role with 3 at the back, then whilst defensively he is definitely the statistics, Jack, you always talk about the statistics of Emerson. It looks like he's one of the best in the league. A more important role of responsibility of a right wing back is to be better going forward, right? And I feel like when we have the ball and the defense is sat back, like against Southampton, he doesn't know what to do. He hasn't got any idea when someone's sat in front of him. It's different if he's running onto the ball and it's played into space and he's got those first time whips in. I think he's good. I think he's getting better, more confident in that situation. But when we need someone to be able to get past the last man, he hasn't shown me any level of competence there yet.
I agree with that. I do actually agree with that. And I think maybe in Emerson's defense, which of course, I always do, I seem to defend Emerson better than some of our own defenders at a certain rate. I would argue that he technically was bought right for that back 4 and now has had to make the transition to the back 5, back 3 system, which
and
in
he's
his
doing
defense,
it.
and he's making the adjustment. But I think maybe the whole indication is that we got him in originally because he was solid defensively and wasn't going to make as many mistakes as someone like an Aurier or Matt Doherty was. And now he's being asked to do basically a different role than what he was brought in to do. And I think he's making the adjustments. I'd like to see them a bit sooner, kind of like you. And I think he does need to improve in that regard. But maybe he's just put in a predicament where he's being asked to do something that he wasn't necessarily brought in necessarily to do. But just quickly, just because I missed it, celebrating 3 months as a gold member, Spurs 72. He's saying January transfer window, temper expectations. I think this is probably the case, but which is why, we will be able to, temper a bit of expectations, because this whole theme of the show, everybody, is basically sort of player evaluations. And we will be kind of going over all these players where we think maybe they need to be improved, maybe they need to have upgrades in these positions. And we will summarize it, maybe just to leak a bit of a question. We will summarize it on which 2 players or which 2 positions would you upgrade in the upcoming window, because I think it is kind of a bit crazy sometimes to assume that 4, 5, even maybe 3 players could come in the January window. It most likely will be 2. But Spurs 72, big yourself up for celebrating 3 months as a gold member. Shane O'Neill saying we're doing it again. A few good games and we're starting to think the same names are good enough to keep again. Hopefully Conte won't be fooled. I don't know. I mean,
he's too old school. He won't be.
I don't think he'll be fooled, but Dave, I think he is singing a bit from the hymn sheets here. He is singing a bit from the hymn sheets. I think we've seen, with as much as I'm happy to see Winks playing at his best, as much as I'm happy to see certain players playing at their best, it is hard to imagine that this will happen in perpetuity. It is hard to imagine that they will continue to play at such a high level, because we've seen them at their worst. And I will say their worst is atrocious. And I'm just worried that maybe we might fall back into that cycle again, like Shane O'Neill here is saying.
No, look, and Jack, I'll keep saying it as well. Where the level they're playing at the minute now is their max. It's their ceiling. Not going to see much better. Winks will cost you a game down the line. Dyer will cost you a game here and there. Sanchez will still cost you a game. Them mistakes will still be there, and I agree with him. Yes, we're seeing improvement, which is what we wanted. But realistic, we were praising them for actually doing what they're paid to be doing on a daily basis and what they've robbed of a living for the last 3-4 years. But look, at the end of the day, Conte has to work with them until we can get in players in the window. So, I mean, while they're here, you just want to see the improvements. But just to round off the Emerson thing as well, Jack, look, I get it. Maybe there's some limitations going forward, this, that, and the other. But at the end of the day, he was brought in to improve the situation at right back. You ask yourself, has he improved it? Yes, he has.
Yeah, that is actually true. And, I think well broken down. Also, though, I do like having Sean on this panel, though, because we sometimes can't get too, overly prayful or overly kind of praising of certain players, because, they do need to improve in some regard. And I think that is the case with Emerson, but there are a lot of caveats to say, the fact that he was brought in for maybe a back four sort of system and now is being asked to do something a bit different. But then again, I would like to see him improve going forward. And I think the last game really did show it. Kuva99 saying Wayne Rooney went out for a family bucket with hot wings too, but came back with a date from the bingo.
Yeah, he likes the grandmas, that really does, doesn't he? That's why he went bald for a little while, because he wanted to act like he was a bit older towards the granny side. That's why he went a bit bald, my man. But yeah, definitely he's been to the bingo hall. He likes the grannies, how Wayne Rooney does, doesn't he? So maybe there's something to this. Maybe there's a niche cult we're not aware of in the football community with some of these players.
I would say, though, another person, though, Dave, I think I would finish the bucket still faster than Wayne Rooney could. I'd still back myself. I know I'm quite quick about it. I know, I'm able to kind of just lick the bone clean. So I just want to say, Tongi and Wayne Rooney, they don't stand a chance. They really don't stand a chance. But big yourself up, Kuva. Big yourself up, as always. Kuva99 saying as well, tempering my expectations would require us re-signing Aurier and Sissoko. Yeah, Dave.
I mean, another player. I mean, people want to berate on Hojbjerg. Let's just stick Sissoko back in there. Let's watch the ball bounce around like there's kids bouncing on a bouncy castle. Let's watch him hit the stands every time he shoots the ball. I mean, let's just stop berating the players that have actually improved the team. You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, you look at Hojbjerg, you look at Emerson, improvement on Aurier and Sissoko. Both improvements, so stop berating them.
Do you think we're berating Emerson, though? I'm not sure that we're berating Emerson.
No, I've heard. No, I'm sorry, but I've heard people berating him. Comparing him to every other right back in the league, this, that, and the other crack. I mean, look, people have berated him. I've seen it on social media. Look, let's be honest, they have berated him. But my point is, like, is he the player we thought we signed, this, that, and the other? It's simple. I'm just going to start answering and then bring back Serge Aurier. It's that simple.
Yeah, and at least in the case of Sissoko as well, I mean, as much as I'm happy to see him playing well at Watford, I mean, I don't know. I think we just have to realize where we once were at a certain stage, and maybe we just have to realize what we were witnessing last season, which was absolute atrocities at times when it comes to certain performances. And I would say Emerson has been nowhere near the levels of Aurier has been at certain rates. So as much as maybe Aurier was decent going forward, every now and again he could be decent, he also could be awful in the same time period. And I think you could say the same thing with Emerson. And then at least when with Emerson, he's going to get stuck in a whole lot more than Aurier ever would or ever will. But Kuva, I will say tempering your expectations is certainly something that we don't like to say anymore, because we've been tempering our expectations for some time now.
And look, I've seen people berate Emerson, Hojbjerg, and I get it. They want better. They want instant success. But you have to remember where we were. We were so far behind ever getting top four. You've had to bring in Paratici to sort out, Conte to sort out, and you're going to need 3-4 windows to sort it out. It's going to take time. We have to sit there and be patient. Stop criticizing Emerson, Hojbjerg, players like that.
That doesn't mean they get a free pass, Dave.
Start criticizing Doherty. Start criticizing Dele Alli. Start criticizing Ndombele. Start criticizing Lo Celso. Actually start criticizing the players that deserve it, because they're not talked about enough. Everyone talks about Hojbjerg. Everyone talks about Emerson. Harry Kane was the battering ram for people this season. Now it's Son. I mean, I'm fed up with it. Start criticizing the players that deserve it. I criticize them all the time, and it's like, oh, well, they're mental health. You can't do that because of this, because of that. Fuck it. They deserve it. They're paid to be in the public eye. They're willing to take the money to be in the public eye. Criticize them. Stop criticizing our best players. Players that have actually come in and improved the situation. I get it. It's done from a good place. They want to see success. I do too. But the thing is, start laying it on the players' doors that deserve it and stop making excuses for them.
Yeah.
Oh, listen, I just want to jump on the back of that. I don't know who you're talking about specifically, but
I'm not talking about anyone in specific.
No, I know, but I just think that you can. I don't see anyone who's defending Doherty. I think everybody on all the channels, on all the community across Twitter, saying that Doherty's useless. Whilst I take your point, focus on the ones that are continuously disappointing. I don't think that players that are getting better but not the finished article, that make mistakes, should be immune from not criticism but critique. Right? There's a difference between criticizing someone and critiquing them. You should be allowed to to analyze their performance and call out the good as well as the bad. And that's all I'm doing with Emerson. And I think a lot of other people, I don't think anyone expects Emerson to be the real deal yet, but he hasn't been perfect. So I don't think, and the same with Hojbjerg. I think his form has dropped. I think it's fair to point out and analyze observations.
I get what people are saying, but when people say his form has dropped, I don't hear people saying that he's being rolled out week in, week out because Lo Celso and Ndombele and Dele Alli between themselves can't get themselves on the pitch and do a decent job. Yeah. The reason why he's burnt out is because of these guys. If he was played in a rotation like he's supposed to do with Skip, dropping in and out, you would see the very best from Hojbjerg. My point is, these players are bringing down the rest of the players. As for Emerson, like Shane explained, if it wasn't Doherty challenging him and it was someone else challenging him at his caliber level, you would see a much better Emerson. I get critiquing Emerson or critiquing Hojbjerg, but when you hear people saying drop Emerson, play him Lucas Moura, for instance, right wing back, you hear people saying drop Hojbjerg, let's bring in Ndombele. Why? What have they ever done for this club?
No,
No fairness, and this is my point. Critique them, by all means, critique, but stop slandering them. I mean, people want to sell Harry Kane
versus critiquing. Yeah, slandering versus critiquing.
People want to sell Harry Kane this summer. I mean, if we sold Harry Kane, where would we be right now?
Depends how much we got for him.
Won some of the games over the last few weeks. That's for sure. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, stop criticizing the people that deserve it, or criticizing the people that don't deserve it, and start criticizing the people that do. Demand a change. Demand that they're the ones that go. Because if not, you're going to see this crap keep being rolled out. We're going to keep this player. We're going to keep that player. He offers this. He offers that. Show your frustration. Show your unhappiness. They're the ones that deserve it. Once we have the better players in the squad and you can challenge, then you start critiquing the likes of Hojbjerg and Emerson. But right now, lay off them. The reason why they're being rolled out all the time is because these other lazy fuckers are stealing the living. If they were here to help the squad, you would see much more from Emerson. You'd see much more from Hojbjerg because they're not rolled out week in, week out.
There it is. And I think that, that's well covered on Emerson. I will say, especially David, I will say being my knight in shining armor when it comes to defending one of my new favorite players in Emerson. But Shane or Sam, whichever for this one you want to go by, I will say I'm going to give you the honors of taking the question of the title. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
I'm struggling with my internet at the moment, so if it goes off, apologies. I will get back straight on. It might just need a bit of it. It's already playing up a little bit. So if you can hear me, I'm going to continue anyway. Is Hojbjerg overrated or underappreciated? What type of player is he? What type of midfielder would you bring in?
Maybe answer the first one first.
I don't think he's overrated. I think he's I think he's underappreciated. Hojbjerg was brought in to do a specific role. We brought him in to be this enforcer, to be this player that's going to break play. We never had that. Now we've got that and he's doing that. We now want something else from him. We want him to now be this player that's dynamic and going forward and maybe spraying 20-yard balls and threading through balls in through as a number 10. What do we want from him? Do you know what I mean? He's brought in, he's done what he's supposed to do. He's doing it quite well. He's played every single game since last season, played all the way through the Euros, as I keep saying, played all the way through this season so far, and now he's having a bit of dip in form. I was questioning him, but I only questioned him because of the fact that I know the standards that he'd set, the mentality that the players got, the ability to do the job that we hadn't had for years at our club. He was doing it. So we have to kind of look, right, give the player a break, as you were saying. There's lots of other players who ain't done anything close. He's allowed to have a bit of a dip in form, but there are reasons behind it. Could we get better? Is he the best in class? You wouldn't say he's the best in class. There's probably players ahead of him. Yeah. Could we get older than players? I'm not quite so sure if we can. So let's cut our cloth accordingly. Well, who are you going to go and get? You tell me you were going to go and get that's going to just... You have to spend that sort of money. You have to spend the money. So again, it's all the balance about what, as a club, we've got. We've now got the right manager. An environment for this player to be one of the best. But again, we didn't buy him to be a Kante. We bought him to be more of a player that breaks up play, gives it to the players that can do more with the ball. So players who are supposed to do more with the ball haven't done enough with it.
Yeah, completely agree there, Sam. And to be honest, I think I got, most of it there. And I would say, when it comes to Hojbjerg, I would say it should be Sir Pierre-Emile Hojbjerg, Sir Pierre Brickhouse, as maybe David would like to say. But Sean, and I know maybe someone that you feel like maybe to a degree is somewhat, kind of rated, maybe is overrated or underappreciated. I mean, where do you kind of lie on it? Is he rated, underappreciated,
I think
overrated? Where do you feel like with Hojbjerg?
You literally just took the word I was going to say. I don't think he's overrated. I don't think he's underrated. I definitely don't think he's underappreciated. I think every Tottenham fan
there are a lot
really
of
admires him
out there. Yeah.
What's that? Sorry.
I said there are a lot of Hojbjerg sexuals like
myself. Oh yeah, and I'm one of them. I love the guy. His energy, his passion. I think his talent. I think last season he was an absolute stalwart in the midfield for us. I think he's fairly rated. I don't think he is, if you were to kind of give him a global out of 10 score for what he is as a midfielder for his country, for his club, week in, week out, I think he's a solid 7 out of 10. And he does a good job as often as he can. I think I'd take your point, Dave. I think he's overworked. I think he's over, there's too much responsibility on his shoulders, or there has been. And I've got nothing but great things to say about the guy. I don't think he's underrated. I don't think he's overrated. I know Paul Merson thinks he's overrated. But what does Paul Merson know? What I would say, though, is I feel like a lot of the things that Sir Pierre-Emile Hojbjerg does well for Tottenham traditionally, I feel like as of late, we've got this new guy, Oliver Skipp, who's coming up and seems to be better in most of the assets
higher ceiling
Hojbjerg has been good at, and has a far higher ceiling. He's younger. He's got all the energy. He enjoys playing football. He's got the tackle. He's running with the ball. All of the things that Hojbjerg has always done well, Skippy now is doing better. And all of the things that Hojbjerg doesn't do well, Skippy seems to be developing as well. So I don't have anything bad to say about Hojbjerg, but I think that if we're trying to get to the next level,
Sean, could I just say one thing?
Go on.
Can I just say, if Skipp had played the amount of games that Hojbjerg had played since last season, all the way through, including for his country, up until this point now, we might be having a different conversation about him. I'm not saying about anything. Skipp is great, and I think he is.
I mean, it
but
was
like what Dave was saying,
it was only a couple of weeks ago, Shane, people were saying that about Skipp. Only a couple of weeks ago.
Exactly.
I'm not taking anything away from Hojbjerg. I'm saying I love the guy.
My point is about these players.
Yep, go on, mate. Sorry.
Yeah. I know. I think we all agree with that. I'm just saying that if you look at those two players, they are quite similar in a sense. I think Skipp's a bit more advanced because he's got a bit more dynamism going further forward and getting back. But again, if you put him in that same situation, having played week in, week out, having been every single minute of last season, did Hojbjerg play in the Premier League for us? That's a lot of games, including what he's done.
Yeah,
he needs to be rotated. And I'm pretty sure we'd be having the same sort of conversation about Skippy if he has a dip in form because he's played 10, 12, 15, 20 games in a row without a break. So it's just
completely agree with
normal physics. 100% normal physics that a player's going to
100% completely agree with what you're saying. And I would like someone, whether it's Winksy that's going to, I think Winksy, I know we spoke about him already, but I think in the January transfer window, and I've seen a lot of the comments saying, I think this January transfer window is not going to be, it's going to be difficult, temper expectations. I think this January window is going to be the most wildly different transfer window for the January window that anyone has seen in the last 10 years. I think that there's 3 or 4 major reasons why. I know Dave's already talked about the Newcastle effect, but you can't underestimate how much that domino, if Newcastle get busy early and the money starts playing around the financial economy of football early, then that's going to get all sorts of things going. You've got other big teams in the Premier League that are like Liverpool and Chelsea, for example, that are dropping back and need to reinforce. They've got injuries. They've got people going to Africa for the AFCON or whatever it's called. If they want to try and compete for the league, they need to reinforce. You've got Tottenham that are going to get busy. You've also got a list of about 150 major names in world football that are all in the last 6 months of their contract. That a lot of people might say, well, they're going to sign pre-contracts for June or July to join. But a lot of the clubs that those players play for are financially in a lot of trouble and will happily take a 10, 15 million quid transfer fee now and lose that player for the next 6 months to get that player in. And I think Tottenham is one of those teams that can benefit from that environment. So I know that's off the point, but I do think that Hojbjerg, if he can have a break, if he can have be rotated, then I absolutely want him to be a part of the squad. But I do want to bring someone in, see someone in who is underrated or rated, but rated higher than Hojbjerg is, if that makes sense.
I think Hojbjerg has a very obvious ceiling. But Kuva99 here saying Sam's chair makes it look like he has Vulcan ears.
Yeah. Yeah.
It does.
He can hear everything. I'll tell you that, Kuva99. Hears everything you're saying. He hears everything you're thinking. That's what it is.
It's so funny as well. I can see it now as I'm looking at myself.
That was Radfire saying.
I see it now.
Yeah.
You can't unsee it.
Oh,
that was
shit.
Radfire saying, David, you're spot on. Emerson is an improvement and needs time.
I mean, look, Jack, let's be honest. I mean, I say things 3 months in advance and then 3 months later they come true. So, I mean, it's probably just another one of them things, isn't it, Jackal?
Could be, Dave. It could be. I will say, the moment that I saw, Emerson's beautiful smile and haircut, I wanted to like him. So I will say I'm a bit, probably biased, but I would say, maybe as long as my seeing eye test, doesn't fail me when it comes to Emerson, the stats haven't failed me either. That's what I would say. Fast. Danny Kiriakou saying, preach, David. Can I get an amen and a hallelujah? I think he's talking about Emerson as well. I would say just sing it from the rafters, Danny. Just sing it from the rafters. There it is. There's your Emerson defense. Emerson, you might as well, if you're looking for some lawyers to defend, your goodwill, to defend your performances, you have David and I available. I would do it for free as well, Emerson. But Tapatam Duda saying Hojbjerg is a warrior and a typical Conte player. I think this is the same answer that we would give for Winks, as we were saying. The reason Winks gets a spot in the squad is because he fits a certain mold of a type of player in that 3-5-2. He works hard on the training ground. He has the passion. He has the effort. You could say the exact same thing with Hojbjerg. So, he's going to have a spot in the squad, whether it be a starting position, not so sure, anymore, considering how well Skip is playing. But to maybe argue that, we're, I don't know, losing faith in the guy, or maybe he's not the same, or, all these sort of comments, I just feel like it's just way too harsh on the player. That, to my opinion, Dave, and we did the player, ratings last season, maybe apart from Harry Kane and Sonny, Hojbjerg, I think, was our third highest ranked player. I think he by far was probably our third best player from last season. And to kind of just fall off of that, kind of pedestal that we put him on earlier so soon just seems a bit harsh on the guy. Maybe I'm biased, of course, since, I fall asleep with my Hojbjerg, kit every single night. But I don't know. It just seems it's been a bit harsh. It seems like it's been a bit harsh sometimes, some of the criticisms we've heard from Hojbjerg.
Like, it's very, very harsh. It's very harsh. I put it to people. People think footballers are not normal people. I know they get paid extravagant amount of money. We know that. And they're in a physical game, and they train and they got all the best. But you imagine yourself in any environment of work, and you had worked continuously for a year and a half without a holiday. How would you feel at this moment in time? Even if you're still
had a holiday.
You're a bit fatigued. Bloody hell, I've been doing this for a year and a half now. The same for you, just be a little bit fatigued. Yeah, we ain't won nothing in that time. He's not won nothing with Denmark. So, there's nothing to make you motivated as such. To kind of, he has to find that self-motivation somewhere. It's bloody hard work. Just put yourself in that position. I myself, even after 6 months of work about all that, I'm like, oh, bloody hell, I've had enough of this shit now. You've got to think that footballers are still people. They're not machines.
Look, let's get this straight. Hojbjerg played beside Ndombele last year.
Yeah.
He played beside Sissoko last year.
Yeah.
Played beside Winks last year. And every single one of us sat here at the end of the season and said Hojbjerg is our best midfielder. Every single one of us sat here last January, called for Skip to come back to give Hojbjerg a rest. We already knew back then he was being overused. But not only that, you have to look at the type of midfielder he is. The reason why we were asking him to do what he's not a specialist at is because we've overhyped big overpaid babies that cannot do the job. So he's now being asked to fill that void, and he's now being slated for it. we actually bought Hojbjerg in. We already had Winks. We already had Ndombele. We already had Lo Celso. Hojbjerg was brought in to provide that steal in midfield, to provide that ability
100%.
to be able to turn over ball, which he excels at. He absolutely excels at it. Pochettino, he had Wanyama, he had Dembele. Wanyama was the ball winner, Dembele was the ball carrier. And that's ideally what you'd be looking for in a two-man midfield. Someone that can do both.
100%.
Now, at the minute, you're playing two players that are very, very similar. Maybe Skip has probably a better passing range. I do think there's shades of Paul Scholes in Skip. But at the end of the day, you're playing two players that play very similar. What do you expect? Again, criticize Ndombele, criticize Lo Celso, criticize Dele Alli. They're the ones that are paid to do that job, and they can't. Yeah. You see them even when they're out there and they're good at that job. Because they don't care and because they're so sloppy, they give away the ball, which in turn Hojbjerg ends up winning back. So look, get off Hojbjerg's case. For me, I think he's our third highest scorer in the Premier League with 2 goals. Also got 1 in Europa Conference League. He's got a couple of assists as well. I think he's second most tackles in the squad, and I think he's second or third most passes in the squad as well. So I mean, what he does get criticised for, he can't be too bad if he's ranked inside the top 3 in all of them, can he? At the end of the day, again, put the blame where it should be put. I mean, I get you want better, but Hojbjerg's not the person you should be pulling apart. It's the 3 other overpriced donkeys that are sitting there collecting the wage and stealing the living that are paid to do it that you should be pulling apart.
I mean, the only thing I will say to get a bit diluted here, I would say the only thing is that I do believe Hojbjerg is a machine, because at one point, you know, Marcelo and I were doing the watch along for Crystal Palace, and he made a tackle on one side of the pitch, and all of a sudden he transported, almost like time warped, into the other side of the pitch at one stage, you know, pressing high up the pitch. I would say, I might actually argue maybe he is actually half Transformer or half Terminator. He could be a Terminator, actually, when I think about Hojbjerg. It kind of makes sense. You probably get a cut on him. You see probably some, you know, kind of bar chips and barcodes and, you know, the inside of him. But Silver Surfer saying, I don't understand. There is a constant need to compare our players to others. Interesting. Let's please keep our head down and climb that table. This is quite interesting, I would say, because we've compared, again, maybe on the theme of Hojbjerg here, we say, oh, Henderson is better and Didi is better, you know, Souček is better, all these players. And sometimes we kind of think to ourselves, I mean, Hojbjerg, as we said in the Alex Davies debate, actually has better stats than all of those guys combined. But, you know, David, maybe this is part of the problem, is sometimes we think, you know, grass is greener on the other side with certain players.
Jack, people won't compare him to what we have because they already know the answer. They already know the answer. He's better than what we have. So they won't compare him to what we have in the club. What I will say to people is I'll be honest, couldn't give a flying fuck what Liverpool have, couldn't give a flying fuck what City have, couldn't give a flying fuck what Chelsea have, etc., etc. I care what we have. And at the end of the day, I compare him to what we have at the club. Because if you're comparing him to players at Chelsea and stuff like that, that's fantasy land. Let's be honest with you, because it doesn't direct us effectively. Because at the end of the day, we still have to roll them out. Compared to what you have at your club. Forget about every other club. I can see where Silver Surfer's coming from. But what I also forgot to add is, with Hojbjerg, he brings accountability on the pitch. He'll hold the players accountable for the mistake. He'll bollock players. He'll call them out. He has that bit of great desire. Without him out there, maybe bar Dyer, nobody else does that. So again, that's another reason why he's out there. People don't praise him enough for that.
Sorry,
but you were saying as well, David. Yeah. David would have been a good point about don't compare him to someone like Henderson. If you think about it, Henderson does a great job for Liverpool, but what does he actually do? He's not one of the most creative players in the world. They've got creative players to do that. So he keeps things moving. He's that glue. He's that leader. He's that player that gets other players playing when he's not playing so well. He's that player that does the basics, what he's in the team to do, and gives it to the players that are more creative, i.e. the wide players in terms of the fullbacks and their forward players. We haven't got that. So Hojbjerg does a job that he's paid to do, break play up and give it to other players. But if the other players ain't doing nothing with it, and then you're asking him to now do that job as well, he's not that player. So unless he's going to be asked to play in that position and then improve him, we're trying to now transition this guy into something else. He's one of the best, as you said, at breaking the play up, block shots, all the rest of that defensive stuff, mentality, getting players through games, and then we should have players that we can at least rely on them to maybe get the goals and get the assists and all the rest of it. Hojbjerg's not an assist maker. He's not an assist king. What are we expecting from him?
Yeah. It seems like, well, we're expecting him to be the Terminator, which I do believe he is at a certain point, right, Sam? I think that's what we're expecting him to be. But Silver Surfer, I think this is a great comment. I would say if Alex Davies were maybe watching at this moment in time, would be something very much suited for him. We do sometimes have to realize the grass is greener on the other side, and there's a reason why that phrase exists. And if they were to be put into this squad, would we be seeing much different? I'd like to think not. But big yourself up, Silver Surfer. Very intellectual comment, I must say, from Silver Surfer.
I mean, let's be honest though, Jack. Like, if we had Alex Davies here, Alex Davies goes on like he has a drone monitoring above Hojbjerg to see exactly what he's doing 24/7. It's ridiculous.
Who is this mythical Alex Davies? I keep hearing about him.
Honestly, there's not enough time in the day. No, honestly, he's a great lad. He's a great lad. He's a great lad. I love him. He's good banter, but my God, he gives me headaches.
Let's just say he's not a biggest fan of Hojbjerg, maybe because he took a certain Harry Winks's spot at one point in time. I think that's why. But Leighton Evelyn saying, love Hojbjerg. I'd love 11 players with his heart, but people don't realize how fast Skippy is. And that's why I think Skippy is on trajectory world class. I think this is where this sort of comment I completely agree with when it comes to Skippy versus Hojbjerg. I can't believe it's become this whole Skippy versus Hojbjerg debate, but you would argue that Skippy, and I think the whole panel agrees, Skippy has a much higher ceiling than Hojbjerg does. Is that a slate or a slight on Hojbjerg? I don't think so. I really don't. I think Skippy, in fact, is going to become a world-class player. Does Hojbjerg need to be a world-class player in order to play for Spurs? No. There are a lot of players that have played for world-class teams that weren't necessarily world-class players themselves. You could probably even look at the Makelele sort of player that played for Real Madrid at one stage. Was he really a world-class player? Probably not. Was he an absolute cosm? Was he an absolute sort of gear in that Real Madrid side at one stage or not? Yes. And so that's kind of what Hojbjerg, I think, is. He's that player that is sort of a glue. And I think I'm taking now Sam's words here. He was a glue in a certain side that works. And there is a role for players like that. And I do think Pierre or Sir Pierre falls in that sort of role, in my opinion. But when it comes to Skippy, I think Skippy has a much higher ceiling. He has much greater potential, and he is a world-class player in the making at this moment in time. And to be honest, I think at this rate, Skippy's already showing to be, potentially Tottenham's N'Golo Kante. I think he's almost like an N'Golo Kante at this rate for us. He wins the ball high up the pitch. He carries the ball better than Pierre does. He sometimes has a much better kind of eye for a pass at certain moments that Pierre does as well. He plays a bit more kind of forward thinking, a bit more dynamic, kind of like an N'Golo Kante. These are all things that we describe about N'Golo Kante. So I would say Skip is going to be like an N'Golo Kante in the future.
Yeah, no, look, Skip, I highly rate. I actually believe I said it on Paxton Road, I think I said he was going to be in an England jersey, but by the end of this season, I still stand by that. I really do think he will. But look, when it comes to Hojbjerg's job essentially is to provide a defensive platform and the turning over of the ball to be able to give the attacking players the license to go and do what they want. And when they do lose it, then they rely on this guy to go and win it back. That's essentially what his role is. Yeah. So, I mean, you're asking him to turn into Pirlo, Zidane, Ronaldinho. You're asking him to combine all of them and be them, as well as be a Makelele. I mean, it's impossible. There's a reason why a Makelele existed in a Real Madrid team or even in the Chelsea team when he came to the Premier League and had his specific role, which was to turn the ball over and give it to the attackers. And that's all he was supposed to do. But again, when you have the right players to fit that system, you see that in full effect. And where I stand right now is I'm still going to say I think Hojbjerg is very underappreciated, very undervalued. And I believe once you get in that proper ball-playing midfielder, then people will see the true extent of Hojbjerg's value.
Yeah, I completely agree. And well broken down there, Dave. Dan Ann saying, never understood the Hojbjerg hate. He's an elite ball winner that led the league in tackles. And I believe that was even under Southampton at a certain rate. He also was leading the league in tackles and interceptions. He's a Conte, and fans are mad he's not also a Christian Eriksen. And I think, Dave, Dan Ann, like a lot of fans in the Harris Army, Dave, sometimes they describe things in, a matter of a sentence when it sometimes takes myself, paragraphs, if not full minutes to describe exactly what they're saying. I think that's the whole point with Hojbjerg. He's not multiple types of players all built into one. He's not a perfect human being. He has his strengths and he has his weaknesses. And right now we're deploying him in a certain sort of role that isn't exactly comfortable to him. He's doing a job. I think he's doing a job in that role. I don't think he's really underperforming in that role. But we have to realize what he originally was brought in to do. He was brought in to kind of be that man with a bit of graft, with a bit of intensity, with a bit of hard work, and someone that could break a few bones in the midfield. And I think we saw last season that he absolutely was that guy. And now we're asking him to do something else, which maybe is a bit similar to other players in the squad that have received a bit of criticism. And so you just have to realize sometimes maybe they're not everything. They can't be the perfect player, but sometimes there is still that role that they do excel at. And I think we saw last season, Hojbjerg certainly excelled in that role under Jose Mourinho. But Dan N, I just think this is a fantastic comment and summarizes exactly what we've all been trying to say. So big yourself up clearly shows that you're much more efficient than us, Dan N. And Truth Sets Free saying, famous saying is comparison are of the ego. Example, comparing your grades in school with others, etc. Just do your best and let God do the rest. Wow. Again, I mean, I think we all kind of hated that kid in school that would ask what your score was on the test. I'll tell you that. Truth Sets Free. I think we all hated that kid at the end of the day. But big yourself up, Truth. And also, again, another great way to, kind of talk about something that, again, David and I have probably been taking minutes, to describe that probably could be described in seconds. So big yourself up, Truth. Really big yourself up. In case, Shane is experiencing a bit of the internet problems, I just want to plug the channel real quickly in case, he isn't coming back at a certain rate. But Paxton Road TV, there it is, everybody. Please head on over there. It is the channel that I absolutely support. It's the channel that I try to, during my busy time, watch religiously. So I would say head on over to Paxton Road TV. But we are going to keep moving on, everybody. We just handled the title of the show, which I will say I'm actually quite proud of us. And we will be moving on to maybe potentially this sort of center back kind of question, or actually, sorry, excuse me, I got a bit ahead of myself. We're going to be talking about the number 9s, and this, we had a fantastic debate before, I believe, with Marcelo, with David as well. Maybe Sean was on that one. It's hard to remember, but we were talking about, number 9s, and would you rather sign a forward this January that is a proper number 9, or a forward that can play across the forward line? So maybe for you, Sean, I'll start with you. This basically would be, would you rather sign someone that's like a Dusan Vlahovic, that's your typical, beautiful, proper number 9, that's just that perfect number 9 mold? Would you rather sign someone that's more like a Sonny, that can play maybe across the forward line and as well, kind of fill in as a backup number 9 to Harry Kane when called upon? I mean, what would you really prefer we sign?
Well, if it's someone like a Vlahovic, but not a Vlahovic, then no. Right. If we can sign Vlahovic, then I'm all aboard that guy. I think he's, the future.
Yeah, one of a kind.
Yeah, exactly. Right. One of a kind. And he's like a future Lewandowski or someone like that, So if there's the opportunity to sign him, if it can be done, you make it happen. And then you figure out how to make the team. You build a team around him, Sonny and Kane. You figure it out. If it's someone like him, but not him, then I don't know who those players are. But in that scenario, I'd rather buy someone that can play across the front three. As I was mentioning earlier, I don't think that Conte has ever preferred to play someone in the 10 role. And this is what, going back to these conversations, Jack, you and I were having on the Southampton game and the Crystal Palace game, the difference between the 3-4-3, the 3-5-2, or the 3-4-1-2 is essentially comes down to one particular person in the team getting pulled back from the front or getting shifted forward from the midfield and finding that person. And it's sometimes I think it's kind of trying to find square pegs for round holes.
Yeah.
Vlahovic doesn't really naturally fit the need, right? If you've only got, 80 million, right, that's potentially, say dream world scenario, there's 80 million that we can do pending other sales and not including other money that's raised from sales or loans or any of those things, then do you really want to put it there into Vlahovic, into somebody that's a 9, but not a Vlahovic? The answer to that question is no. I'd rather spend the money in other positions. I'd rather reinforce the right wing back, as we've already spoken about. I'd rather find somebody, more creative, or a centre back, right? I'd rather do something with that if there's only that little bit of money left, and the option around a striker, a number 9 striker, is someone like Vlahovic, but not Vlahovic. But if Vlahovic is available, I think that kind of guy, you have to be thinking not just about the here and now, you have to also be thinking about the next 5-6 years. And he's not going to become available. If we don't get him now, he's never going to be at Tottenham, in my opinion. He's always going to be going somewhere else, right? So, like, basically, in summary, would I rather sign a number 9? Only if it's him. If it's not him, I'd rather spend the money, whatever money's available, on other more important positions and figure out, plug those holes. Vlahovic is a square peg for a round hole, but he's a square peg that I'll happily shave down and sand down however I need to make him squeeze into the hole, because he'd be unbelievable in a Tottenham shirt.
No, he's a beauty. In fact, he'd be more like shaving down marble. I'll tell you that, because he's that beautiful. David, would you rather sign that proper number 9, or would you rather, that beautiful number 9 mold that, Sean was talking about, or maybe as well for the future, maybe I guess that proper number 9 could be, or would you rather maybe this January window sign somebody that could potentially compete with, Lucas or Sonny for a position, but as well fill in for number 9 when called upon? Basically, what would you go for, Dave? Would you go for that beautiful proper number 9 up front, or would you go for someone that's a bit more versatile kind of in the front 3?
Why did we sell our last striker, Jack?
I guess he's over at PSV, Dave. I guess he's over at PSV at a certain rate.
No, look, let's
who
be
apparently
honest.
wasn't good enough for Benfica at a certain point as well. I guess we sold them on.
I mean, look, if we done what other people wanted to do in the summer and sell our best striker and more football, I mean, then we'd be talking about having to directly go and get a number 9. But I mean, the club obviously listened to me because my opinions made sense on the Harry Kane situation. Just that, he was only missing for a couple of weeks, just a bit disappointed over the summer, overused, stuff like that. So they kept him because, this whole thing about that. I mean, look, people wanted to drop Harry Kane for Bergwijn. I mean, that's just nonsense. I mean, honestly, I felt like retiring from YouTube. Honestly, I did. I was like, if this is what we're getting at, I just feel like retiring. I think I'm past it. But look, the king of the lane, he's returned, he's back again, he's the god, he's in the goals, like I also predicted. I mean, I got caned for months and months and months, every single day. Poor Dave, he doesn't realize, Dave, you just don't realize. What I realized is quality recognizes quality, and that's why Harry Kane is still here. In terms of, do we need to sign another number 9? I mean, I'd like another number 9, Jack. Not a Carlos Vinicius, let's be honest about. I mean, I know he's scoring a few goals in Holland now, but I mean, look at the last few players we bought from Holland. It doesn't really set.
I think it says more about how they replaced Carlos Vinicius over at Benfica. I think that says more something when I think about it. They brought in 2 strikers to replace him.
Look, if I was for me, I don't like this whole idea of buying a player that can fit across the whole front 3. The reason why you're seeing that more and more nowadays in football is because there is a lack of players like a Harry Kane, like a Vlahovic, like a Haaland, like a Lukaku. Top quality striker who can play up there on their own and get you goals. A clinical finisher. Like people say, oh, well, the reason, Pep's doing it, it's the way modern football's going. No, it's not. Pep's only doing it because he couldn't buy Harry Kane. That's the only reason why Pep's doing that this season. Because he's not just going to squander his money on anybody. Yes, you'll get away with playing with players that can play all across the front 3. But ideally, what every club wants is a Lewandowski, a Harry Kane, a Haaland, someone that can play that role. I would like to go and sign someone that can compete with Harry Kane. I think you'll see Harry Kane probably elevate himself and take his game to a new level, knowing the pressure is on him. And you'd probably see a lot more from him every single game. And I do think you should be putting your money on a Vlahovic, to be honest with you, Jack, because for me, you're going to see what happens. He's going to move. He'll move from Fiorentina now. He'll end up at somewhere like a Dortmund. Probably Haaland will leave Dortmund. Vlahovic will go in there. And then after that, you're talking about 200, 250 million further down the line, which we know we're never going to spend on a striker.
Yep.
So for me now, you're buying him for the future. Harry Kane is what, 29 now? I should know this. I should know his
29.
I'm sorry, Harry. I'm sorry, baby. But what I will say, what I would do is I'd buy Vlahovic now because you can give him 2-3 years to develop, work alongside Harry Kane, learn off Harry Kane. But not only that, Jack, you give yourself a second striker option, like the game against Southampton. You can bring on a Vlahovic. You can start putting balls into the box, test them in different ways because you have that physical presence. You have that striker that's just an animal that wants to go and attack the ball. And So what I would do is I'd be bringing him in to challenge with Harry Kane. And then you also have the option. You can go 3-5-2 if you want, and you can go with them two up top. But where do you put Son? That's your next issue. Yeah. Or you can still play the way you're playing. And you can. It just means you can rest Harry Kane, but you have someone that you have faith in that's going to get the goals. My whole problem was with Vinicius is when we did roll him out against better teams, I just was not confident he was going to get the goals. I come from an era where we had Pavlyuchenko, we had Darren Bent, we had Peter Crouch. We always had 3-4 strikers at this club: Jermaine Defoe, Robbie Keane, Canute, Mido. All these strikers. You always had a lot.
Mido, love that man, sexy man.
You've only got one now. I wouldn't be signing a player that can play across the front three. What I'd be doing is signing specialists for them positions. We've seen it. Look, we brought in Bergwijn. Look, the guy has pace. He can play left, he can play right, he can play down the middle. But ultimately, he wouldn't hit a barn door with a bulldozer. Let's be honest with the situation. So for me, I think why Vlahovic is an offer, you go and get him, because they're very rare with the way football is going.
Yeah, interesting. Sam, right up to you.
Yeah, right.
That beautiful number 9, that proper Vlahovic, or would you bring in somebody that potentially could play a variety of positions in the front line and maybe do a role?
If we're playing FIFA and we're playing video console game, it's quite easy to say we're going to buy this player and we're going to bring him in and he's going to sit on the bench and he's going to wait till we're ready to play and he's going to play. The best players in the world, if they've got the right attitude, want to play all the time. The problem we've got is Harry Kane is a world-class striker and he's going to play more often than not. If you bring in someone like Vlahovic, who's probably going to be in that sort of mold, is he going to want to come and play a bit part, as we've seen over the last 3 or 4 years of Harry Kane? No, he's not. So you're taking a risk on trying to obviously get someone in who you've got to keep happy. And how do you keep a player happy like that? You've got to either financially motivate them or you make them promises that you might think you can keep later on down. Like I said, we're going to buy you now and we're going to sell Harry Kane next year and you're going to be the number 1.
Right.
Never ideal situations. You're promising something that might not happen, but you've also then potentially got to pay someone more money than you actually want to pay him just to make him do a job.
Yeah.
The problem we've got is Harry Kane. He's too good for what we want because we play in a certain way with one striker. If we're playing a 2, I would say, yeah, let's definitely do it. But we're not playing a 2. The best times that we had when Dele Alli was playing right was because he was playing almost like as a second string striker, but he was just playing off Harry Kane. We didn't have another number 9 because Harry Kane takes up that number 9's position. So we've got to think of it logically. Are we going to get someone in who's almost as good as Harry Kane, who's going to sit on the bench? Someone like, what's his name? He from Southampton, who went to Liverpool and then
Danny Ings.
Danny Ings, a prime example. He wouldn't come to Spurs. He wasn't going to come to Spurs for that reason. He calculated. Yeah. I don't want to be playing second.
That's because he was already at a club like Liverpool and he was getting on in years. But someone like a Vlahovic for me is different. And to be honest with you, Shane, I get what you're saying, but for me, I respectfully disagree because, we've had it at Tottenham before where we've had 3 or 4 strikers at Tottenham. You look at United, they have Cavani, they have Ronaldo, they have other strikers there. You look at Chelsea, they've got Teeny Weeny, they got Big Ron. They have a couple of others there. You pay the money, they will come. They will come.
Yeah, but Dave, you can't pay 70 million out of a whatever it is. Let's call it 100 million, dream world scenario, 100 million euro budget. You can't pay 70 million and then the 250 grand a week that he's going to command, and then
do it,
and then not start him week in, week out. He has to be a starter immediately. So if you're going to play the 2 of them, to your point, Dave, where do you fit Sonny in, or do you switch the formation?
How much did United pay for Paul Pogba? He doesn't play.
Okay,
United,
going back to that point, though, David. Man United.
I get what you're saying, but the thing is, other clubs do it. Why can't I expect my club Tottenham to do it? If you want to win trophies, that's where you have to go.
What I would say with that is they're playing more top-level games than we are. So if you count Champions League as well as the Premier League, that's top-level quality games. You can be motivated to play Champions League game. We've seen you can't motivate these players to play UEFA Conference League. So if you're saying to a striker, you're not going to play Premier League, but I'm going to play in the Champions League, I'll be like, you know what? That's not a bad deal. And if I can get that in the future, I can do with that.
But also, Sam, Pogba was signed.
UECL. You ain't going to play UECL if you're Vlahovic. Why would you do that? You just wouldn't.
Pogba was signed as a starter. He just hasn't commanded it. right? His first year at Man United was, it was like an end on Ndombele.
Okay, then I'll give you a better example. Jack Grealish at City.
Well, Jack Grealish is the next Dele Alli. Everyone that talks about.
No. The point is he's not. He was signed on big money, signed on big wages. I mean, they bought him. He's happy to do it.
No, but he came in to start, and his behaviour has resulted in it, and his form, right? He came in to start. Sterling in the first games of the season against Tottenham. Jack Grealish, okay, I know he was brought on as a substitute, but Jack Grealish was brought in as a starter. His behaviour, his attitude, his Dele Alli-like behaviour has resulted in him being dropped, right? But also, Man City have got they've got competition for places, and it's a different.
But how did it get competition for places? By signing these players on big money and getting them in and doing what to bring in and add competition.
And you're right, David, because what that has done it's improved the games of all those other players. It's improved the games for Sterling. It's improved Mahrez. It's improved Bernardo Silva. It's improved Foden, because you've got Jack Grealish coming at 100 million, who's been touted as being the next best thing. However,
so they look over their shoulder, right?
However, they can afford to bring in Jack Grealish at £100 million if he doesn't then perform, and he sits on the bench and he doesn't do what? Because they're top of the league and they're likely to win the league, and they're probably going to do very well in the Champions League. You can't do that with Spurs. We can't afford to bring in a player at 80 million, pay him 250 grand a week, and sit him on the bench and say, we're not going to win a league. Yeah. We're probably not even going to be top 4, and we're definitely not in the Champions League. It ain't going to work. It's not FIFA. That's my only point. I agree with what you're saying. The sentiment is fantastically right, but we've got to be realistic here. These players are, if they're worth anything in what they want to do in terms of their footballing career, aren't just going to sit around and watch. They want to play football.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Jack, can I ask you a quick question, mate?
Yeah.
You're the transfer, or the kind of the guru when it comes. Well, at least in my world, you're the guy that I look to for advice here.
Sure.
So I was listening to Tommy Talks Ball, a different YouTube channel earlier, and he gave an idea. I never heard the guy before, but he's quite it's a good channel. He said, Tommy. Yeah, you know him. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, he was mentioning Ben Brereton Diaz at Blackburn Rovers as a potential idea, and I looked up Ben Brereton Diaz's stats for the championship, and he's got 24 games this season, 20 goals. I looked up his YouTube highlights. Have you heard of him? Do you know much about him? Can you develop that idea?
I do.
Yeah, he's 21 years old as well, right?
Yeah, this guy's actually English. He was actually called Ben Brereton. The reason why he changed his name is because he got a call up to Chile or Paraguay or something like that, and that's why he's changed his name.
Okay.
Look, he's probably scoring now, but I'll be honest with you. For me, the only reason why people are talking about him is because he got an international call up. That's it. And he's changed his name.
So you wouldn't have him as a...
When it was Ben Brereton and it was an English name, you didn't hear fuck all about it. Honestly. No, because now there's Diaz thrown in, people are wanting themselves after the guy. That's all it is.
I think maybe a counter as well, Sean. As much as I think Ivan Toney is a great player, people were kind of really raving about Ivan Toney, saying that, we should pay 70 million, 60 million, pay whatever price it is for Ivan Toney. I hate to say it. Look how many goals he scored. I think half of them have been penalties, and it's still under like 5 goals or something, whatever it is for him so far this season. He's still playing in the same squad as he was, so you would think he'd be comfortable enough to score lots of goals. This was somebody that was, tearing it apart in the championship, which is why I would say, in comparison, someone who I've always rated from the championship, I would say, and, I know a lot of the Kiwi New Zealand fans would love me for this one, but Chris the Goat Wood, I would probably personally rather go after, because at the end of the day, what you see with Chris Wood, the guy scores consistently 8 to 10 goals a season in the Premier League. Yeah. Would this Mr. Diaz do that? I'm not sure. Has Ivan Toney even done that? It's still yet to be seen whether he'll even score 10 goals in the Premier League this season, whereas someone like a Chris Wood, who I will say Chris Wood has a ceiling and a quite low ceiling, but the guy has showed that he still is pretty good at being a merchant when it comes to just scoring goals and being a bit of a mercenary. So I would say when it comes to championship players, you kind of got to give them a bit of a, and also look at Armstrong for Southampton as well. They bought Armstrong, who was, absolutely tearing it apart last season in the championship. They brought him in. We made fun of him for that one header at one stage as well, Sean. So, you kind of think
he played well, though, to be fair.
Yeah, I think you'll find there are some gems that you're going to take a real risk if you go into the championship. You are taking a risk. For me, I think you should be looking at Champions League teams. You've got to make the criteria. Do you get someone who's firing at this moment now who needs to play like a Vlahovic. Are we going to get him? It's going to be tough. Could you get a younger version who's up and coming, but he's still playing top level football in the Champions League? We could probably find someone in that mold, possibly. Are you going to find someone who's playing at that level, sort of like a Cavani, who's later on in his career that has got that top level quality, but plays at the highest level in terms of Champions League? Maybe we could get someone like that. But again,
how much does Cavani earn though? Doesn't he get paid a fortune?
No, that's what I'm saying. It's a risk because you're going to have to balance it up either way. Could you get him on a 2-year contract and pay him fortunes, but you know he's going to do the business? Or do you spend it on someone who's potentially a lot younger, put him on a 5-year, like what we do with Tanguy and Dembele, and it don't work out? What do we do?
Good point there. I was waiting for you to make that point, Sam. I was waiting for you to make that point. There you go.
It's simple. You go and get Vlahovic. At the end of the day, we've got Conte. If you go and get a Vlahovic, it's showing ambition. Let's be honest about it. That's what it's doing. It's showing ambition. It's showing that you're serious. It's showing Conte that you're serious to be able to give the guy what he wants. Look, the guy keeps being linked with Tottenham. It's clear that either Paratici or Conte, one of them really like this guy. And I still maintain, you throw the money, the guy will come. You throw the right project, you challenge the guy, and he's ambitious enough, he'll come. And when you do get that guy, he will score your goals in the games that Kane isn't playing because he has that ambition and he already believes he can dislodge Kane. And again, I just disagree because I've seen Tottenham at time with 4 strikers, all of the same standard, happy to be there, happy to be here. When they go out, they play, they score their goals. I do think it can be done. I mean, you look at Chelsea's midfielder selection, for instance. Kante, Kovacic, Jorginho, and there's others there. All happy to be there, all happy to play their part.
Yeah, and Harry Kane does need the risk. I was saying this to you before, Jackie, on the last show we did together. Like, there's certain players in certain positions at Tottenham that have never been under any threat of ever being substituted for any
never
reason
had to look over their shoulder.
Form. I know Harry Kane got taken off against Palace, I think it was. Yeah, but that was because he was being rested for the game. That wasn't because of form. Harry Kane, just like you were saying when we were talking about Emerson, when you've got Doherty as your backup, you can take your eye off the ball. Doesn't matter.
You can have a bad game.
Right? Harry Kane doesn't have anybody as his backup is a 17-year-old who, hasn't done anything in the EuroLeague. Not his fault, but he doesn't have a threat. So I'm still, I'm well on board getting Vlahovic. But if it's not Vlahovic, I'd rather get somebody that's more fluid,
versatile. Yeah, I think it's a tough call, and I think the extra time will suit that out as well because we have a further question on Vlahovic over there. Danny Kiriakou putting in a super chat saying correct. Vlahovic value is 70 million pounds, but it's also, I believe, or 70 million euros or 59 million pounds. You can get him for less. It seems like more and more and more, he keeps scoring and keeps scoring. The Fiorentina are making it very clear what the price is. It's just who's going to actually bid on that price, and will the agent of Vlahovic actually accept it? It's all up for grabs. I feel like when it comes to Vlahovic, I'm very much convinced by him, despite how much I've maintained my neutrality. I feel like he is practically worth any price. Do you pay that much money in this time period in the January transfer window and basically blow your whole January budget on him? I think you should, because we saw Dortmund did that with Haaland, and you see how that worked out for them. That actually did work out for them when they did that with Haaland. I'd like to think we could do the same with Vlahovic, but I know remains to be seen.
Would it not be a risk? I know every signing you make is going to be a risk,
right?
But let's think of that. Vlahovic is playing for Fiorentina in Serie A, so that's a league supposedly got the toughest defense, but Lukaku did very well out there. You bring Lukaku to the Premier League. He'd already been before, seems to be struggling again. He's already come out today and saying, they're playing a different formation for me at Chelsea now. I'm not sure how I'm going to... Basically, he's struggling for form. Again, you're going to pay potentially 60 million for this guy who might or might not cut it in the Premier League because he's not unproven. I'm not saying that every player that comes in has to be proven in the Premier League. It doesn't always work like that. But usually you're going to take a risk if they haven't. So particularly bringing in from the Italian league, which again, you look at some players, they go to the Italian league, brilliant. They come to the Premier League, not so good. So I don't know
if vice versa, right? And vice versa.
Yeah, exactly.
Leave here and go there and don't work out. Ericsson was one.
It's a point I can't argue with, Sam. It's a point I cannot
argue with. And I just don't know if we're going to take the risk to spend that money for a player that's not going to play week in, week out to prove himself. He's going to get 5 games, that he's not going to play for a little while. He's going to get the odd game here. How can you ever really show your true potential? Unless every single game you come on, you prove yourself 100%.
One last point. I can't argue with it. I think my answer would be, though, before I get on to the next super chat, I think my answer would be, you saw the case with, maybe I think Vlahovic in my answer, and I know this sounds arbitrary, but I feel like he's in that same potential, that same sort of ceiling as like someone like an Erling Haaland. And I feel like what you think about with Dortmund when they made that signing, they probably were taking a bit of a risk with how much they paid for the guy. And you now see for how much they're able to now sell him on for, what the potential of it all is. And you kind of think about, was that worth it? Definitely so. Of course, Sam, I would argue the Premier League is very different. The Premier League is very different. But I'd like to say maybe in terms of Daniel Levy, you probably would say buying assets like that is maybe a good thing to do. And I feel like I don't know, we're all kind of sensationalizing him, which maybe only kind of makes the disappointment potentially even greater. But I'd like to think that Vlahovic is in that same bracket as someone like a Haaland, which what in my belief would be the players that will be replacing the Messis, the Ronaldos of the world, the Lewandowskis of the world as the new, biggest number 9s in the world. I'd like to think Vlahovic will be in that mold. And should we take advantage of that opportunity? Yes. But Tim ended up, sorry.
What I was going to say, and I think Sean wants to say something as well. But what happened with when Haaland went to Dortmund, he came on as a sub. I think he came on as a sub for the game. He
scored a brace,
and he scored a brace. So you saw by the way he was playing, this guy is a first team player. So they played him after that. Somebody's got to come in and do that for us. So Vlahovic would have to come in and do something like comes on in 20 minutes and scores a hat trick. Oh, now we can see so then what happens after that? You're going to have to keep playing this guy. Then we're going to have these conflicts of interest. Unless we're going to play a system where we can get both them two players in. If Vlahovic comes and does really well, you're going to have to play him. You can't say to the guy, it's a good headache to have, but it's a headache. It is a headache. We've seen it with other teams. You bring in the best players, they have to play if they are players that want to achieve. It's all right if you want to just play a player like, what down the road, they're paying him 300 odd grand a week because he's not bothered. But we can't afford to do that now. We can't.
The only other consideration, Jack, I know you want to move on to Tim Man's super chat, but in terms of the financial fair play, if we can get him in, let's just say 75 million, right? Argument's sake, we pay the 75 million, we give the guy 250 grand a week on a 6-year contract. That is a 200 million pound investment over the lifetime of his contract. That is half of the total budget that we could spend, best case scenario, over the next 3 years without falling foul of current financial fair play regulations. I know the FFP is going to change, right? But best case scenario, profitability all aside, 2020 was a write-off, but the last 3 years allow us to spend something like 400 million in total, right? If you're going to go for Vlahovic and you're going to pay him the amount of money that he wants to get paid, plus his agent fees, plus all the other stuff and the transfer fee to Fiorentina, that's half of that budget gone on one player, which means that
but you're also,
and that's one player, one signing, one trend. I know there's going to be players coming and going, Dave, but I'm just saying in terms of net spend, it's a big decision. So taking Sam's point into consideration, it is a risk. He is untested. I'm still up for it. I'm not suggesting we don't do it. Just devil's advocate. It's half of the whole budget. I
get what you're saying, Sean, but you want to go to another situation, what we've done under Jose Mourinho, spread the money out, bring in 7 players who aren't even here anymore. Yeah. I mean, there comes a time where you have to take the leap and you have to start going for these sort of players to improve, to be where every single one of us fan want to be. I mean, we're all frustrated because we're not challenging, we're not winning trophies. If you want to get there, you have to spend the money to do it. You can't spread it out constantly like we've done under Jose Mourinho.
No, I get that.
At the end of the day, with the rebuild we have on, we don't want to go back down the same route we've already gone down, where you're spreading money out and making it work. Like you said, square pegs in round holes. It comes a point where you have to start bringing in the players that you need and playing for the quality players, because it's the only way you're going to improve. And there's always going to be a window or two along this journey where you're going to have to do that. You're going to have to do that in order to improve. Like, look, how bad our squad got. It was always going to take 2, 3, 4 transfer windows to put right. So even if you spend that money, you go again the next summer. You spend.
Well, you can't. That's the thing, though. That's the point.
Offload Ndombele. You can offload Ndombele.
No, I know. Yeah, if there's a buyer. That's the thing. You have like all of the other chairmen they're all playing 4D chess, right? They're all looking at the clubs, the situations that they've got. They're all reading each other's financial statements. Like, so if you go and spend 200 million and it doesn't work, he's not the Goliath, the superstar, the god that we all hope him to be, and we still need to plug those other holes. If it doesn't work, or even if it does work, there's limited amount of funds available for the next 5 windows over the next 2.5 years where we can spend that much money. So you're going to have to offload players to try and raise the funds. Other chairmen are going to know that and say, well, I'm not going to pay you 20 million because I know how important it is for you to sell Ndombele, because I know you're already screwed by how much you spent on Vlahovic. So there's considerations.
Right? But if you weigh it up like this, right, so they tried to make this money spread under Jose Mourinho. Didn't work.
Yeah.
Then they ended up getting less Premier League revenue, no Champions League money, less revenue across the board. You spend that money, you spend it on the quality players, they will then bring more revenue in terms of getting back into Champions League.
Hopefully.
Higher finish in the Premier League. So it's kind of like risk reward. Where do you weigh it up? Where do you draw the line?
No, I hear you, mate. I take your point.
For me, every club that is inside the top 4, say in the Premier League, have rolled the dice, have bought the big players, and now they're getting the benefits of the rewards. Whatever they've paid, they're getting because they're consistently making top 4, consistently pulling in that Champions League revenue, consistently pulling in the top 4 revenue that brings. So for me, I don't want to do what we've done under Jose. I'd rather go and get the real deal, get him in. I look at Vlahovic. You look at the size of the guy. He's built for the Premier League. You're not going to say he's coming in here, he's getting out muscled. It's not going to happen.
I agree. I'm just throwing it out there as a scenario, a consideration.
And can I just wanted to add to Sean's point as well. It is a risk, and that's why I think when you buy a lot of players, you kind of spread that risk, because if you buy 5 players and 3 of them come good, it's not so bad. You buy 1 player and it doesn't come good, you're done. And if you spent the money like Sean has just said, you are really done. So that's why they probably do it. It's to kind of balance that risk.
Yeah.
You get several players into that situation. If 2 go wrong, well, you know what? If 4 or 5 go wrong, that's bad scouting. So we've got to get our scouting right. And if you are going to plug that gap by buying this one player has to work. There's no, I'm not quite so sure. It has to work because you are throwing everything at it, and that's your risk reward situation there.
See, this is the thing, like, and I agree with you as well, but like, look, the scouting has to be sorted out. They are going to sort out, because before we brought Luka Modric from the Croatian league. Look how that worked out. You know what I mean? You're seeing clubs now going to these look at West Ham, Soucek, Kufa. They're going to these obscure places and pulling out these players that are good enough to play in the Premier League. Yep. And that's what Tottenham are missing out on. Yep. If you want to go down that route, you shouldn't be getting in a Joe Hart on a free, a Matt Doherty, spending 20-odd million on a Ryan Sessegnon, whatever else. You shouldn't be doing that. If you do want to spend that sort of money, do your homework. Go to these foreign leagues, to these smaller leagues, where you will get value for your money.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
In the rough.
100%.
Yeah. It's more diamonds in the rough. And I think, there was a report a long time ago about us, improving the scouting and, call it controversial. But I believe those scouts that they were bringing in, David, weren't kind of the, the old mold of kind of guys that just use the old seeing eye test and, kind of everything. They're guys that are doing a lot of video analysis, using a lot of stats, using a lot of sort of kind of video monitoring of players to bring in. And, I think I completely condone that, because that is what the new era is. That is that is how you find those diamonds in the rough players. It's not just kind of using the age old kind of seeing eye test.
And the other thing as well, just to add on to that, again, we've got to also, if you bring that player in, you have to be sure that he fits more than one type of formation system manager type. Because if you bring him in and then Conte leaves and you bring in someone else that doesn't fancy that type of player, you are definitely effed then. 100%. So this is what I'm saying.
And that's the Jack's point.
Everything right.
Is there, I'm with you, all of you, 100%. Let's get Vlahovic in. Let's take this, roll the dice, take the gamble. We'll figure it out. But if Vlahovic is a 1, he seems like he's probably fits a certain mold. Whereas to Jack's question, is there, and I don't know, you guys are better with the scouting than I am, is there a player that's available for similar money that's as good, if not more exciting, but can play across the top in any of those roles so that the formations can be pivoted? Because I don't know. I mean, you tell me.
No, I mean, it's, I think, future question, maybe potentially for the second
Mm.
channel, as well as I would say, someone who's also on Paxton Road, Darius, who I think could also could, answer that question, plenty available to do it. But Tin Man 007, I completely, just agree. We need players that can go straight into that 11. And I feel like no more backup players. It's just not the mentality that we need. We need players that can compete. We need upgrades. We need just lots of, players that can actually challenge the first team players for these sort of positions. But David, I was gone for a second. I'm not sure if you guys were, discussing this.
No, we didn't. No, we were still debating on Vlahovic now. Yeah,
it was a good one. Good to see it was a good one.
Yeah,
Good to see it was a good one. So Tim and 007, I completely agree now. We need to start acting like a big club. And Conte we trust, and we just need players that are actually that are upgrades on the starting positions, if not challenging at least the current starters for that position. We need players that can make our current starters look over their shoulder and make sure that, there is someone going for their starting position. And I think that's a great mentality. It is what big clubs do, and we need to start thinking that sort of way. So Tim Man 007, big yourself
what?
up.
I don't think anybody's. I'm definitely not disputing that fact. I just know, knowing football, having seen it, it's not quite as easy.
Not as easy.
It's very easy to do on paper. And you look at all the top teams, and you look at Man City, you look at Man United, you look at Arsenal, you look at Chelsea, you look at all them teams, and you think, yeah, that's what they do. But they have got their internal problems as well. Just look at what's happening with Chelsea now, because of the fact they've got all these players. And we said, it's Frank Lampard, he can't manage them. Well, he couldn't manage them as good as Tuchel. But even Tuchel's now having problems having to manage all these world-class superstars. 100%. Pep Guardiola is able to do it because he can pay them the money and he's winning. Yeah, you can do that all day long if you're winning. Not a problem. And you're paying them money. Very easy.
And Man City's finances are entirely separate. We just discussed that before on this channel, but Man City have got the benefits of an oil man who can 100%. Shift money we can rob Peter to pay Paul. Tavistock can't do it the way that Man City can yet. So it's not as simple as just pulling the money out of a brown paper bag or under the mattress. It doesn't work that way.
Regardless,
it does.
Regardless, though, Tin Man, I'll be happy to pass that brown envelope under the table over to Fiorentina in order to get the guy into the building. So pick up Tin Man 007. I'll be happy to do it. And I do like your mentality. At least your mentality is the mentality of winners. And it's the best mentality in order to prove this squad. And also really appreciate the big one as well, Tin Man. Kuva99 saying, statue for Greaves. Should we start a petition, lads? I mean, we absolutely should. And on top of that, it needs to be statue for Bill Nick as well. I think, Kuva, you have to have both of them in there. And probably a few more, to be honest. Probably Perryman, probably Hoddle, maybe a statue as well. I mean, guys that have actually, shown that this club is capable of winning things. This club is capable of having real players with a bit of graft, with a bit of I don't know, just humility, hard work, all the things that you would think that world-class footballers should have these days. So I think there needs to be a petition for it. I think the only reason they're not there, Kuva, is because it probably detracts from the property value that Enoch and Levy probably so carefully think about when it comes to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. But that's my thoughts on it. But absolutely, statue for Greaves, statue for Bill Nick is a great way to start off. Silver Surfer saying, Happy New Year, lads. Love this channel. Always very respectful. Silver Surfer, I really appreciate it. And also big yourself up. And Happy New Year's to you as well, my man. Hopefully you're enjoying, the end of this year with this bit of a debate, talking about a lot of players that clearly have caused a bit of pain, a bit of controversy in 2021. Hopefully we'll ride into 2022. As someone said before, I believe it was Dan, saying 2022 or New Year's Day. It's not only New Year's Day, it's the day where we can think about fixing this team and fixing this squad all over again and just starting on a new path of torture and pain. But Silver Surfer, big yourself up, my man.
Yeah, Silver Surfer, Happy New Year. Why not ride into 2022 on my deluded magic carpet? Continue this deluded train. Look, always respectful. I mean, look, everyone has their opinions. I've always said this, everyone sees football through different lenses. You respect us. We respect you. It's the way the world should work.
Yeah, I completely agree, Dave. And Silver Surfer, just want to big yourself up and enjoy yourself. Enjoy yourself New Year's Eve as well as New Year's Day. Use the New Year's Day for a bit of calmness, thinking about what maybe to do a bit better on, but do New Year's Eve, be your best self as well as your worst self on New Year's Eve. Just get it all out on one night. Stefan Blois saying we need quality, not quantity. Come on, you Spurs. I mean, this is just, I think, the definition of what everybody's been basically saying is that, you need players that are not only, maybe highly rated, but also potentially could translate to the Premier League well, players that can play in multiple positions that aren't just specialists in a certain kind of position, players that future managers would like to use, a lot of different things. And that all has to do with quality, not quantity. So big yourself up, Stefan Blois. I could not agree more. We are going to move on to extra time, but we're going to rush through one of these last questions, everybody. We are going to rush through it just because we could pretend as if it were an extra time sort of question. I'm going to start with Dave, then move down to the bottom over to Sam. Dave, if you could only upgrade / sign in 2 positions this January window, what would those positions be?
Not Harry Kane.
You have to think hard because 2 is hard. 2 is hard. Yeah, 2 positions is hard.
Not Harry Kane because we didn't sell him. What I would say, it would be centre back, Jack, and it would be a centre midfielder, but a ball player midfielder, someone in the role of a Modric, of a Carrick. And if you can't get them, then someone like Moussa Dembele, and then just another world-class centre-back. You get in another world-class centre-back, you can play Davies between them or with them. You can play Dyer with them. I mean, heck, you could roll me out and play me beside them. I'd look brilliant. So there'd be the 2 positions I would go for, because at the end of the day, I think you get in that midfielder. Hojbjerg looks 20 times better. We'll create more chances. You bring in that centre-back, will eliminate some of the mistakes. And all the great managers say behind every championship winning team is a great defense. So let's do it.
Interesting. To you, Sean. 2 positions that you would upgrade.
Right, I was on mute. Yeah, I actually agree with Dave. If it's only 2, I would go for I think a centre back. Or like a centre back that can play on the right, or a right wing back as a backup or competition for Emerson, and a centre midfield, someone that can really play. If that's the only 2 they're the only 2 that we can assign, then those are the positions that I feel like we need.
Not easy.
Cheers, lad. You are a miser. You want to buy a centre back that plays right wing back? Spend the money, Shawnee. That's what I'm talking about. Spend it.
I want 4 players. I want 4 signings, and I'm telling you that Daniel Levy is going to surprise everybody this January. It's going to be the most fascinating January that anyone has seen for the last 10 years, and I will eat my words. I will eat my words on February the 1st. We're going to sign 4, but if it has to be 2, I want a centre back and a CM.
Someone's going to be eating their words. I will tell you. It might not be you, Sean. It might not be you, but you, Sam.
Okay.
If you it's a tough one, 2 positions. You're only limited to 2 positions, so you can improve.
So hard. So hard. I'm going to have to go with the centre midfielder as the other 2 have gone with. I think we need that player. That makes everything tick in the team. You can get away with certain other places. And I think we can get away with centre back because we've got Romero coming back from injury a little bit earlier than we thought. So I think that's possibly covered with the fact we've got Tanganga, you got Sanchez, you got Dyer, you got Rodon, you got Ben Davis. You could probably even throw Hojbjerg in there if you wanted to play him as a centre back. Worst come to worst. So I think we've got that covered. Full-backs, though, wing-backs. I really think if we don't get a wing-back, particularly on the... I don't know. It's both sides to me because we ain't got backups for him. We ain't got a backup for Reguilon, and we ain't got a backup for Emerson, because the backups that we've got, one's injured in Sessegnon all the time. The other one is just shit. So I don't know what we're going to do.
Sessegnon's injury proneness is so...
It's just doing my head in now,
isn't it?
It's doing my head in.
I started questioning his existence, similar to Lo Celso to a certain way. If I started to, forget, if Sessegnon actually existed or if he was a figment of my imagination.
Against Liverpool, he was so good. Like if you're going to replace one of those 2 positions, I think you've got to focus on the right, because on the left wing back, if Sessegnon it can get fit,
got Ben Davis.
And you got Ben Davis, exactly right. He's worthy, but Sessegnon is worthy. Competition is just his fitness; it's not his talent.
Look at David.
I guess in comparison, I wish Doherty were a figment of my imagination, but unfortunately, he is quite real, and he is quite a real awful footballer. So I would say that
he's terrible.
What I will say to everybody when it comes to the transfer window, I wouldn't be surprised. Just hear me out. No players come in, but Hugo Lloris and Harry Kane sign no contracts, and there's your transfer window.
That would be typical Spurs, because they'll announce that and say, "Look what we've done." That will be shit.
You'd be happy with that, Dave. You'd be happy if that was it.
Well, I mean, Harry Kane down to a long-term contract. I mean, who wouldn't be happy about that?
He's still got 3 years left, right?
Well, actually, I know a lot of people that wouldn't be happy about that, but I'd be very happy about that. When it comes to Hugo Lloris, I'd be happy with him to sign a new contract. But at the end of the day, they're players that are already here. Yeah, it's great, but I want bodies in.
I don't think Conte's not going to have that, is he? I don't think Conte will go through this January without at least getting reinforcements, even if it's possibly not all the players he wants now. He's going to need some reinforcements. We can just see from the lack of depth we've got in the squad. If you push me on that position, right wing back as opposed to left wing back, because I think we can just about get away with it in there. Right wing back, I think if Emerson gets injured, we're screwed. We are screwed.
Yeah, I think you made a convincing case on the right wing back. So I guess if I'm only limited to two, I would sign a right wing back that is very good going forward in comparison to Emerson, and let's say is a bit more shaky defensively, unlike Emerson. But then I would sign still a central midfielder. It has to be a box-to-box, ball-carrying midfielder like a Luka Modric of some sort, someone that can actually control games, can actually do something that no central midfielder has ever done since probably Moussa Dembele or Luka Modric, in my opinion. But there you are. It's a tough one only having two. It's really tough. It says a lot about how much improvement. It says a lot about how much improvement we need. It says a lot. We need way more than two, I'll tell you that. William Kelly saying, we're going to win the League Cup. I can feel it in my bones. I mean, your bones must be absolutely shaking in anticipation, William Kelly. There must be absolutely, get a bit more calcium in there. I think it's going to be the Carabao, if anything. But who knows? The FA Cup could be nice and tasty. That would be absolutely glorious. But I think it's going to be the Carabao, William Kelly. But, we'll be celebrating it alongside Luke, my man. And hopefully by then, when we win that League Cup, Luke will become a Spurs fan at that rate. So big yourself up, Mr.
Honestly,
Kelly.
right now, I'd be happy for winning first prize in a pancake competition. I just want a trophy, man.
I want that trophy. Back.
Spurs 72 saying, Happy New Year's, David, Jack, and Sam, and Sean. Let's smash Watford. Be safe, guys. Come on, you Spurs. Spurs 72 spreading the absolute vibe, setting an example as well for the entire chat as well. Wishing everybody a Happy New Year's and spreading the positive vibes. So big yourself up, Spurs 72. Love all your comments on Twitter. Love all your opinions as well, mate. And also really do appreciate all the support as well on the second channel. Dave, anything quickly to say to Spurs 72, an absolute legend and GOAT of the channel?
Yeah, you're a legend. Happy New Year to you, my man. Hope you and the family have a real good one. Live it up. Have a few drinks. Chill out. And it's when we smash Watford, my man. I mean, look, I cannot wait to humble the Hornets.
There we go. Big yourself up, Spurs 72. Absolute legend. Really do appreciate it. Sean is Levy's love child. Absolutely better get ready to eat your words, Sean.
Listen, I will. I've already laid out. There's three. There's a spectrum. I'm closer to the Levy than anyone else. I get it. I just think that there's considerations that people don't pay, and I think that this January, I think Levy's going to surprise a few people. Well, I hope so. And if he doesn't, I'll be the first person to come on February the 1st and say, well, what a crock of shit that was. And I apologize for wasting everybody's time with my ridiculous rambles about how he's not that bad. But until then, let's just let me have my faith.
There you go, William Kelly. There it is from Levy's child. Hopefully, that's the answer that you were looking for, my man. Hopefully you weren't cringing too much from it. And hopefully maybe he proves us wrong, because at the end of the day, if anything, I'd be happy to be proved wrong in that case. But certainly 20 years of evidence might suggest that we might be disappointed yet again. But big yourself up, William Kelly. Big yourself up, my man. And he also says, Jack, I really do rate Doherty. I know William Kelly is just trying to grind my gears here, David, and this is my thing.
He's having a laugh. He's having a laugh, is William. He can't.
At a certain rate, William Kelly, this is my thing. I've started to question whether Lo Celso and Sessegnon exist, because I haven't seen them play in some considerable time. My memory doesn't go very far back, compared to other people in the world. So I start to forget that certain players exist in the squad. Where Doherty, sadly, I've seen plenty of, and I've seen too much. That's all I can say.
Shafted. How did we get shafted like that? How did we get caught out with that Matt Doherty sign? I don't know what happened there. What happened with that?
Steve Hitchen. That's all you got to say. Mr. Hitchen in the building, and somebody who's, hopefully at least at this moment in time is delivering Paratici another espresso, because Paratici is probably doing overtime trying to fix all the things that Hitchen did, during his time period. William Kelly saying, I've been wanting trophies for the last 20 years. I mean, I haven't barely been alive, I've only probably 4 years older than those 20 years. But in my time period as well, William Kelly, I'm starting to get a bit stir crazy. I couldn't imagine what you would be like in your position. And I'm getting a bit stir crazy. And I still got plenty of years ahead of me, my man. But William Kelly, big yourself up. Anything to say, William Kelly, quickly, Dave?
Yeah, look, just stick with it. Trophies will come. I mean, we've got the Don in charge now. We've got the Godfather. Just sit back, relax, and enjoy the journey. It's coming.
There we go. Big yourself up, William Kelly. But finally, guys, we can move on to a bit of extra time, a bit of time to unwind, a bit of time to decompress. I must say, maybe it isn't. I would say these ones are not, so kind of, easy yes or no for these ones as maybe you probably like them to be. But we're starting off maybe to wrap up this whole Vlahovic sort of debate. Is Vlahovic worth any price for you, or would you rather we find a cheaper alternative to Harry Kane? I think to answer the real question, which it is, I think Vlahovic is worth any price personally. I think it'd be like a Haaland sort of scenario where you would pay any price for Erling Haaland because you know what that guy could potentially do. And you know that, these sort of players like Haaland, they don't exactly grow on trees. They come every once in, 10 years sort of players. So I personally wouldn't wait that long. I would get him for any price if I could. Of course, we don't have that money, but that's kind of the whole point of the question, is for it not to be overly complicated. But Dave, to you, do you feel like Vlahovic is worth any price, or is he maybe a bit overpriced?
Not for me, pay any price from him. Second of all, Jack, I'm not happy. There's no cheaper alternative to Harry Kane. Harry Kane's one of a kind, my man.
Great answer. Sean, is Vlahovic worth any price, I guess, is the first question.
I don't think he's worth any price. Like if there was a price in his head that was 150 million. And then not what he's worth. I'd pay 70. If that's what they want, I'll pay that and we'll figure the rest out. But more than that, 100 million, 200, 150 million, whatever. If he's a world record, no, absolutely not.
You Shane.
No, I'm with Sean on this one. Not any price. If he goes over 100 million, I'm not paying that. Nah, I'll pay if they could get him now for the 70 million and. Yeah. He does, but yeah, I think it'll be a good deal. But if he goes over anything like that, it's too much of a risk.
Interesting.
I just think it's too much of a risk.
Level-headed, very level-headed there, I must say. Number 2, and we'll go from the bottom to the top here. So we'll start with Sam. Does Romero need to earn his way back into the starting 11 after that significant injury that he had? Yes or no?
Yes, every player should, but we don't. We've seen that with some players that they don't, but every player should, in my opinion. If the team's doing well and it's winning, and you can rely on certain players, and defensively, you want to keep the defensive unit as least amount of changes as possible, then yeah. But he's one of our better players. He should make it back into the team at some point. But not just he's fit, put him back in. No, not in my opinion.
To you then, Sean.
Yeah, I agree with Sam. I think that you have to have competition for places. It's whoever's playing in the spot at the moment, it's theirs to lose. As of right now, the 3 players at centre back we haven't deserved to lose their spot. I don't know when he's due back. If it's within that period where we're playing Chelsea 3 times in 3 weeks and Arsenal, then I would imagine that there will be at least one moment in one of those 4 games where one of the 3 players will make some mistake that will give the opportunity to put him back in. But if they play out of their skins and we get through the cup and somehow get results and keep clean sheets against Arsenal and Chelsea, then Romero's got to wait for someone to slip up. 100%. You have to have it that way. Otherwise,
the only thing I would say about the Romero thing though is, and it appears that Dyer is going to be the center of the centre backs, and Romero is going to play on one of the sides, and it looks like it's the right-hand side. So if you're going by that scenario, because Ben Davies is our only left footer and Dyer's the one who's likely to play in the centre, it's only Sanchez. So it's only going to be him that comes out of the team. If I think about it logically, that's the only way it's going to work.
Yeah. I agree with that. But I think Sanchez at the moment, it's his position until he screws up to lose it. You can't just give the player back who's been out for 2.5 months. You can't do it. It just makes a mockery of competition otherwise.
100% agree.
Dave, for you, Romero gets straight back in, or would you feel like he has to earn his way back in?
Yeah, no, I completely disagree with what everyone has said. Respectfully, of course. But I mean, God doesn't ask for things. God just does things. And for me, Romero is like God. He walks straight back in. Take Bambi and Sanchez straight out and put Romero back in.
Into the right center back position. Interesting
not
answer.
Match fit. Like the second that he's available, he starts 90 minutes against Chelsea in the first leg of the cup.
Yep.
No, you can't do that. What would that do? What would that do to Sanchez for one thing? And then if Romero does get injured, like 2 weeks later,
couldn't care less. What Sanchez done for me? Absolutely nothing. So
I don't think Sanchez is keeping David
up. What's Romero done
for
you so far? He hasn't.
What Romero's done for me, Sean, he's brought stability to my life. He's brought good defensive abilities with him. And he's clearly better than anyone we has. For me, he walks straight back in the team.
Mate, football should be a meritocracy. If you've earned the right, you keep the right. Until someone screws up. And it doesn't have to be a big screw up. But if Sanchez keeps out if he's perfect against Watford, if he's perfect against Chelsea in the first leg, if he's perfect in the second leg, if we shut them out 0-0 the whole time, and he has a worldie against Lukaku et al. If you just want to drop him the second that Romero is ready to play a game,
you can't
do it, mate.
You can't do it.
That's
you just can't do it.
No, can't do it. No, Conte will. Look, he looks at Sanchez. He knows he's crap. Anytime the ball goes over his head, he gets lost. Sometimes he thinks he's on Dancing on Ice. Sometimes he thinks he's in the jungle. I'm not sure.
If he does that.
At the end of the day, for me, Romero comes back in. He's our best defender. He walks straight back in. The thing is, Sanchez could have a good game against Watford. So could I. Sanchez could have a good game against Chelsea. Maybe. But at the end of the day, he's going to cost me on the next one or the next one or the next one. And I know it's coming. I'm sitting there waiting for it to come. So for me, I'd rather just not sit there going through all that anxiety and everything else. Just bringing in man that just brings me calm.
Wow. I didn't think this one would be that hard. I didn't think
football's really let's be honest. I mean, the guy's done nothing for me for 4.5 years, maybe. So I don't see why I should start letting him do things for me now. I mean, he just doesn't. I still think, and I still maintain this, he's the worst out of them three that's playing right now. Dyer and Davies. If there's a goal coming, it's coming down his side.
Who, Sanchez?
Yeah. And if that happens, then you make the choice. It doesn't have to be a big mistake to
make the thing is, that's what I'm saying. It's not if, it's when.
Okay, well, when it happens, then you put Romero in. You can't assume. That makes a mockery. Like that, all you're saying to Sanchez in that scenario is, you are just a stopgap, bro. You're just a stopgap. Like you're never going to be first choice as long as Romero's here. That's it. That doesn't bring.
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. Is it us saying to Sanchez, you're just a stopgap, or did Sanchez make himself a stopgap? I would go with the latter, that Sanchez made himself a stopgap. I mean, Toby Alderweireld and Vertonghen have played to their prime and they're both gone. He was brought in to eventually replace them. And I mean, it's been a year and he's finally getting into the team because we have an injury.
But David, if he plays well and he's playing well because he's in the team and he's getting regular football and it's settled and we're winning games and keeping clean sheets, you can't take him out. You just can't. Because you are then saying to that player, as Lucas Moura, who scored a hat-trick in a bloody semi-final, correct, you're only here playing in this game because Harry Kane's not playing. Correct. You come out, even if you've had a worldie, you're out, he's in. That whole thing would fall over. It would fall over completely.
We need to send a message to the likes of Sanchez, Davies, and Dyer. Look, you have a lot more making up to do than just a couple of games. At the end of the day, we brought Romero in to be our main centre-back.
And he will be. He will be. It won't take long for Sanchez to make a mistake, but you have to allow him to make a mistake.
All I'll finish with is I think what we're hearing from David, which I will say is maybe the right mentality. All we're hearing from him is that clearly he's not losing any sleep about maybe trying to protect Sanchez. He's not losing any sleep over it. Whether he offends Sanchez or not, or whether he hurts Sanchez's feelings. I could tell David's not losing any sleep over it. That's for sure.
David's not even losing a week.
He's not even losing. He's not even losing a blink. He's not even losing any sort of winks. I'll tell you that. No. Number 3, though, and we'll start with Sam. Number 3. Would you rather, because this is according to reports, we've been really, I think, trying to pursue English keepers or kind of homegrown keepers in particular to replace Lloris in the future. So of the maybe kind of big English keepers, would you rather sign Henderson, Pickford, Pope, or Sam Johnston?
Oh, this is awful. What am I trying to pick out of here?
This is the problem with the homegrown, I guess. Then, Sean.
Oh my
This
God!
is the problem with the homegrown. You do limit
I
yourself.
don't want Pickford anywhere close. I don't want Pope anywhere close. Johnson, I don't want him anywhere close. Henderson's just backing up for De Gea at the moment. None of them. I don't want any of them. But if I had to sign one, oh God, I'd probably go with. I'm not going with. I don't like Pickford. I don't think he's that good. I don't think Johnson's good enough. It's between Pope or Henderson. I'll probably just have to go with Pope now because he's playing more than Henderson, so he's more likely to come in a bit better in terms of form. But Henderson, because he's at Man United, I thought he was a decent keeper. Oh, bloody hell. Henderson then. Go on, Henderson.
I guess I got to go back straight to the Romero thing. I know that was a great answer. Sorry I had to put you through it there, Sam, but a lot of people, I will say that Romero question really, got people going, which was, I think, quite interesting. Stefan Blois saying, don't forget Romero is the key to how we want to play. Interesting as well, because I will say we, in the back three, it does suit him. He played really well in that libero role before at Atalanta, but I think the whole thing is that maybe what, the two panelists below me are trying to say is, when the players have a bit of merit, when they've maybe potentially earned maybe a bit of a purple patch, it's kind of maybe a bit cruel to take it away from them. But I would say, Stefan Blois, I kind of do agree with you that Romero, he is kind of the reason he's got that big price tag. And from what we've seen from him is that he is certainly a level above those defenders that,
100%.
Have earned a bit of merit, but, he is a level above them. And we've already seen that.
It's not a case of dropping Romero for those guys. It's a case of allowing them to warrant the drop, right? Like they have to make a mistake in a game when Romero is fit that warrants or justifies Conte saying, all right, because of that, thank you for what you've done, but because of that, Romero's back. If those guys, and only if those guys have blockouts, if we win the next 5 games 0-0, and Sanchez or Dyer or whoever had make world-class tackles in the last dying breath, to drop them it sends the wrong message on competition. The second that there is a reasonable mistake or a reasonable reason to bring back in, we all agree that Romero's our number one choice centre back. It's just a case of you have to do it in the right way. Otherwise, you send the wrong message. That's all I'm saying.
No,
that means we're just waiting until Teeny Weenie gets taken down in the box again. We're just waiting.
No, but you have to. I agree with Sean. If you don't, then we're going to be in a situation similar to Harry Kane. We're basically saying anybody that plays in is only there because he's injured and he's all suspended. And as soon as he's fit enough, regardless of if he's been out for 3 months, he can come back in. Any player that's not played in our league for over 2 months cannot just come back in and have worldies. And if we're playing well, that will be a mockery because that will send not just for the centre backs, but for the whole team. People like Bergwijn, people like who else is on the periphery. If I play well and I play really well, I'm just going to be out of the team. If somebody else comes in, I don't care what you do. I'm not going to play. What's your attitude going to be? We can't have that. I just don't think it works for team sports.
100%.
Dave, maybe William Kelly's, I guess, in support of you here, is saying, Levy child, settle down, Romero. Doesn't go straight back in the world of God, David. I mean, Dave Romero, he's saying he gets straight back into it. He's saying he gets straight back into it.
This is great.
Levy's love child disagrees, though. Levy's love child disagrees.
Look, I get what the lads are saying. But, I mean, Sanchez has to know his place. If he wants to be where Romero is and he wants to be that player that goes out injured and walks back in, well, the answer's simple. Just be better.
We'll give him a chance to be better.
I mean, Sean, he's been here 4.5 years. What do you want me to do? 4.5 years to be better.
Draw a line under the past. Draw a line. We had this conversation before. You have to draw lines under people's performance, under different managers, under different systems, under different times. You have to you have to treat people how they are currently performing. Otherwise, why? Okay, but so you're being a hypocrite then, mate, because you're saying that Harry Winks deserves to continue to be in the team. Going right back to the start, he's done enough now. But for the last 4 years, he's done sweet FA.
And I also said that.
So, but
I said he's done fuck all. I said 3 games doesn't make a great player. Can we do better? Yes, of course we could. If I could sell him tomorrow, I still wouldn't bring in someone that's better.
What happens if Romero comes in?
Hang on 1 second.
Yeah, go on.
This is where you're misconstruing my point, Sean. I think this is very important. I convey this again. that when it what I was saying when it comes to Harry Winks, due to process of elimination because of Ndombele, because of Celso, and because of Dele Alli, that's that you can't just say I'm a hypocrite. You have to use my whole point. You can't take some out of content and then call me a hypocrite.
Well, what happens if Romero comes in? Romero comes in first day he's back. Let's just for argument's sake say he's ready the day before the first leg of the Chelsea game. He hasn't kicked the ball since October, right? And in the Watford game, Sanchez, Dyer, and Watford put on a worldy performance, but we win a scrappy game 2-0, thanks in no small part to Sanchez, Dyer, and Ben Davies having absolute out-of-this-world performances, sliding tackles to save King and Dennis from having otherwise tap-ins. In your scenario, one of those deserves to be dropped on the Saturday, and on the Wednesday, Romero steps back in and faces Lukaku, and Lukaku runs him ragged. Right, and then remember, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know. This
is the thing, Sean. I'm not dealing in what ifs. I'm dealing in facts and what I've seen in the past. You're dealing in hypothetical.
You haven't. The fact is, you haven't seen
what I've seen time and time and time again.
But the fact is, you haven't seen Romero return from a long-term injury yet. So you don't know.
What I have seen is that over the couple of months, he's better than Dyer, Davison, Sanchez, and Davies.
Not after a long-term injury. You don't know what he's like following a long-term injury.
Again, Sean, that's dealing with what ifs. I deal with what I've seen, the facts. It's been in front of my face time and time and time again. Put it this way. We were all praising Dyer and Sanchez at the start of the season. 3 clean sheets, jacking ourselves off, thought they were Maldini and Nesta. What happened? No, answer. What happened? They fucking let us down and they made mistake after mistake after mistake. Dyer and Sanchez.
What, recently?
No, I'm talking about
recently this season. I mean, that's pretty recent enough. At the start of the season, we were all calling Dyer and Sanchez, Maldini, Nesta, they're great.
Who was doing that?
The whole fan base. The whole fan base.
I certainly wasn't.
No, everybody. The whole fan base.
But then that's the same thing. This was supposed to be extra time, and we got lots of injury time left.
I tell you, we've got so much injury time left. Like, it's great though. These two are great, isn't they? This Dave Shaw business. It's good here. I
love him. But it's like it's not a meritocracy in Dave's world. It's an elite system.
No, but what we're trying to say is that David and I were learning from the lessons of treating it like a meritocracy, because David and I were doing that with Sanchez and Dyer at one stage, where when they were getting those clean sheets under Nuno, we were saying, wow, look at what these guys have done. They've actually, improved. They're whole different players. And then, like David said, look what happened. All of a sudden they let us down again. And so I guess, David and I at one stage treated it like a meritocracy. And, maybe look what happened.
Just to end this, and I just want to end because I loved what they were saying.
Ended. That would be perfect, actually.
But just to think, any player that's had a particular hamstring injury that's not played from October, and they come back, let's say he comes back in February, that would be 4 months nearly. No way on earth is he going to be at the level that he would have been before the injury. It can't happen. It's not possible. Physically, it's not possible. Now, he could get really good in training and he could look really, really bright. But they always talk about match sharpness, match fitness, match what. It's 100% given. No, it doesn't happen very, very often unless you're desperate that you're going to bring a player like that back from a hamstring injury after 4 months not playing and play him against someone like Lukaku. It's not. Unless that other defensive performances by them others were that bad, that you have to throw him in. Was that bad? If they're that bad, I agree with you.
One mistake.
Not, no way.
Make a mistake, you lose your place. Bring in Kuti, right? He's a champion. He's a future captain. He's amazing. But until the mistake is made, until he's match fit, I don't agree with you, Dave. I'm sorry, mate. I respect your opinion, but you're wrong.
All right, just to finish it off then, who's going to make, just quickly, Dave, just to finish it off, who's going to make that mistake? If you're going to predict, who's going to make that mistake? If anybody.
Sanchez.
There it is.
Well, I mean, Dyer already made one against West Ham. I mean, I've already picked out a few that Sanchez has already made. So, I mean, they've already done it. At the end of the day, look, all I'm just going to say is, don't come back to me in 2 or 3 weeks crying that a player made a mistake in the game. I told you it was going to happen.
Paul Markey in with a super chat saying, can't understand the want to spend 60 million on Vlahovic when Alvarez, who is 3 times the player, can be got for 20 million and United will wipe our eyes for him. I mean, I will take it a step further. I mean, I wouldn't say he's 3 times the player that Vlahovic is, but he is actually available on a free as well. He's available on a free come the summer as well, Paul Markey. But 3 times the player, I'm not so sure. But then again, before maybe David comes in on this, Paul, I would say, you know, when I watched the highlight reels, when I did a bit of the highlight reaction and a bit of kind of the scout report on him, I likened him to potentially being the next Sergio Aguero, which, you know, is probably the highest praise you could probably give an Argentinian striker of any sort. So I would say he could be the next Aguero, but I think David, you know, has a bit, you know, smaller of a ceiling, you know, prepared for him, Paul. But I will say, you know, not 3 times the player of Vlahovic, but certainly for a bargain deal, as well as a very, very good player, a great deal.
Yeah, look, I like you, Paul. You're a good guy. I mean, you're a strong guy. Look, when it comes to Alvarez, again, I have to respectfully disagree. I mean, for me, he's nothing more than what Lamela is. I don't see it. That's all I'm going to say. I don't see it. I'm not knocking those who do. I mean, you're probably going to end up being more right on the player than me. I just don't see it, to be honest with you. I see it with Vlahovic. I don't see it with him. I do want to add Red Blood in the comments. I think he's look, I remember when I had my first beer, but I think he's probably had 2 now and he's getting a bit giddy. Just calm it down, Red Blood. Just breathe. I mean, look, you're only intoxicated. There's nothing happening. You're just vision's a bit blurry, but just breathe. I mean, I remember I had my first beer.
Big up, Paul Markey. Big yourself up. And honestly, I'm liking the cheaper signing and the cheaper alternative. Amir Sardar is the new member. Big up, Amir. And I hope to be seeing you this coming Monday, my man. I really do, actually, because I will say he's always been around, David. He's been an absolute goat of the Harris Army. He has, Amir. So I'd be happy to see you come Monday. I've seen you on We Are Time TV before. Like I said, we were chatting hummuses, you know, talking about all the good kind of fixings, you know, to have at the dinner table. You know, maybe this time we'll be talking about maybe players to bring in, you know, potentially as, you know, a good way to, you know, kind of discuss, you know, Spurs. But happy to see you Monday, Amir. We'll save a good spot for you. Save a warm seat for you, my man. William Kelly saying, have people forgot Sanchez's face plant against Man City? I'll never trust him again.
No, people are getting it a bit wrong. I don't trust Sanchez not to make a mistake for the rest of this. Of course he is. I remember him doing all those ridiculous things. But what I'm saying is, at this moment in time, he's not our worst player in the team. By far. We've got worse players in play. And
he's also the best groundskeeper, though, as well, Sam, because there's nobody that knows the grounds better than Sanchez does. He can tell you which parts need watering, you know, which parts need a bit more soil, you know, and things like that, because he's got his face in it the whole time.
I know, but he's certainly been playing a lot better than he was under Nuno. That is a 100% fact. It's got to be.
I mean, yeah, he's doing his job. Thank him.
Here you are, William Kelly. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I'll tell you though, William Kelly is the best groundskeeper. He has a future, you know, career in groundskeeping because he has he's not afraid to put his face in the ground. He's not afraid to do it. He's happy to eat some grass and make sure there's enough nutrition in there. Make sure, you know, they're perfectly watered. I would say probably the reason the game was called off, you know, for the Burnley game, because, you know, all he had to do is just have Sanchez put his face in the dirt, and, you know, he just said, listen, guys, it's not playable. But Stefan Bloy saying, do Liverpool not put Virgil van Dijk straight back in?
This goes back to the point though. Liverpool was struggling really badly with centre-backs. They was at one point, they didn't even have Jordan Henderson was playing centre-back. It's not really the same comparison. I'm not having that.
I was still arguing. I was still
this is the greatest. I will say this is the greatest extra time question of all time.
I still think that Virgil van Dijk does not just come straight back in. He might get bled in on the 80th, 70th minute of a game when Liverpool are, you know, 4-0 up, whatever. Like nobody comes back in straight away after a long-term absentee and plays 90 minutes off the bat, especially if the people that are in the position have done
doing well. Wrong. Exactly, it don't happen. I don't see it happening
that way.
In my team, it would.
All I'm saying is wait until the man does one thing wrong and then drop him. At least then you can justify the drop until you have a justifiable reason to say, sorry, mate, you messed up there. Otherwise, Jesus. You can't. It doesn't like.
I mean, Sean, do you know what my problem is? I don't know if I have enough time to show him the highlight reel on why he is being dropped.
Mate, come on.
I wouldn't want to manage. I wouldn't want Dave to be my manager. Cool. Yeah. I have to find another club.
Of course, we've been teams to play this manager, lad.
Look what he's wearing right now. He looks like Diego Simeone. So he looks like one of Diego Simeone's men with, you know, the all black suit and everything. That's what he's got. You know, he's in the background with Diego Simeone's squad. Faz Radfar saying Romero will only need 10 minutes to show why he is back. I will say the Harris Army is in full voice on that question.
Fine.
I will say I just have to give myself credit for that extra time question because that was the exact opposite.
Yeah, it's a
of
worldie.
intention.
It's a worldie.
I think even as well. I think it even said yes or no, and it clearly was the opposite of that. It clearly was the opposite of that. So I just will say, Faz Radfire, Stefan Blois, William Kelly. Really do appreciate your answers on it. Clearly started, a great riff. But William Kelly's also saying, Sam, you're a class act, mate. Love watching you guys.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Big up, Mr. Kelly. We'll say they're the channel. I'm quite busy these days, but they are the channel that I do watch in my spare time. So you're absolutely spot on. You're absolutely spot on with Mr. Kelly. And as it is, we do have the links to both Sean and Paxton Rhodes' channel in the description down below, everybody. So please head on over there. But we are going to move on. Crazily enough, we were on the third, and so just guys, please just one word answers for the goalkeepers. Sean, if you could pick any of those English keepers, which one would they be?
Yeah, if it's because of Lloris leaving, I would pick Pope. I think he's the most ready, and I think he's the best of those four. If we could pick one to bring in and then phase Lloris out, then probably Henderson. I think it's got the most potential in the long run.
As long as you didn't say Pickford, that's all that matters.
No, he's clumsy. He's too clumsy. He's like a Sanchez.
God, thank you. Well done, Sean. Thank you.
Dave, to you.
The Pope.
There you go. He's gone for a shot stopper. He's gone for a true, classic shot stopper. I think I'd give Dean Henderson a shot. Who knows? Maybe he might turn into somebody a bit different. But, he had a great season at Sheffield, and we saw how a certain Sheffield keeper gets overly praised, if you must say, over down the road at the Scum. So, maybe we could have our own Sheffield United keeper that we overly praise. That's what my answer could be. But the fourth one, and we'll start with Dave and finish on Sam. Has Bergwijn been given enough opportunities at Spurs, or does he deserve more opportunities to prove himself?
No, every time he graces that pitch as an opportunity, had too many.
I'll just give my quick answer. I think people forgot that he was given maybe like 10 games in a row at right wing at a certain stage, and maybe didn't come up with very much. It seems like we forgot that at a certain stage. But Sean, has he been given enough opportunities, or does he maybe deserve more? I mean, he is still quite young, I must say.
Yeah. So I won't take long on this. I think he's had a lot of opportunities. He hasn't figured it out yet. But the way that a lot of people think about Bryan Hill, as people give young players that come in that have got a bit of a reputation a lot of additional credit, additional leeway. And I personally want to give that time to Bergwijn. When he first came in, I was super excited about him. His first game, obviously, he scored the goal. It hasn't worked out yet. I'd be disappointed if he left. However, I understand why people would feel like he's had enough opportunities and it's time for him to go back to Holland or whatever. I just feel like it's a shame because I do think there's a class player in there. And he's certainly not on... If there's a list of players, priority to sell, he's not in the top 5 for me.
Interesting. To you, Sam. Has Bergwijn been given enough chances, or... What do you feel like?
If we've been given, as David's probably mentioned, and all of you guys have mentioned before, if we've been given opportunities to likes of Winks, Dele Alli over the last 4 or 3 years, and then Ndombele, this guy needs to have more time, particularly under a new manager in Conte, who I think could probably get the best out of him, given the fact that he hasn't played a lot for us under Conte. So yeah, I'll give him more time.
Interesting. Stefan Blois, and he, I love it. This one has really set off Stefan as well.
Still going.
I really love it. And he said it's not about mistakes from Sanchez. The point is Romero brings progressive forward play from the back that we lack right now. That is potentially a very nuanced sort of take on it, where as good as Sanchez has been at defending, there was a bit of criticism, and I think Sean and I weren't accepting it on the watch along, though, to be fair to Sanchez. A lot of people are criticizing him, saying, oh, he wasn't very good going forward. And we were kind of saying, well, he did do his job defensively better than every other player and saved Dyer's ass at the end of the game as well, which I think, warrants a bit of credit. But if we are talking about maybe being those kind of ball-carrying, ball-playing sort of center backs, Sanchez doesn't necessarily fit the bill, and maybe Romero would be that better choice. And
100%.
I guess that's what Stefan's saying here.
We all agree. We all agree.
Say the same thing.
Romero does belong. Romero is going to be the guy who takes that spot. You just have to wait for the guy to drop.
Yes,
you have to. There's no problem. We all agree Romero's better than Sanchez.
Fucking hell. I want to say exactly the same thing, Sean. I want to say that. It's exactly what you're going to say. He's better. What I'm saying is, my point is a 70% Romero coming back from injury better than 100% Sanchez who's playing in the team that's winning? And people are saying, yes, I can't have that. That means basically what we're saying is, Sanchez, you're shit, so shit that you might as well just not bother turning up no more. We're in trouble.
It's one game.
Just again, listen, I have to pat myself on the back.
Sorry, Jack, just quickly.
I'm going to pat myself on the back for this question. I will say again, I think it did say yes or no.
The perfect scenario that keeps everybody happy, right, is that on Saturday we smash Watford, but we smash Watford 4-1. Yeah. And the one goal that we concede is because of a stupid error by Sanchez. Exactly. And then Romero happens to be fit for Chelsea a few days later. And Conte says, sorry, Sanchez, you screwed up. It was unnet. We win the game, but there's a mistake by Sancho. We can put Romero. Perfect scenario. Until that mistake happens, you have to give Sanchez a chance.
Do you know what? I fully do understand where you're coming from. I'm Essex side. I do understand where you're coming from. But I mean, if your house was on fire, do you wait for it to burn down and then ring the fire brigade, or do you ring the fire brigade?
This is great.
Or do you make it fireproof? That's what it is. Stefan, dig yourself up. I love that. If Stefan were on the panel here, he would have killed it. He would have absolutely killed it. Honestly, it would have been great. Sorry, Dave. Catman Jess say, big up David, Jack, Sam, and Sean, and Harris Flat Cap Army. Catman Jess just setting the example himself, just sending the absolute positive vibes through the building. Big yourself up, Catman. Absolute goat, I would say, as well as a cat of the Harris Army as well. Big yourself up, Catman Jess. And also, thank you so much for all the support on the second channel as well as all the channels, of course. But Mr. Catman Jess, really do appreciate you, my man. Really do. William Kelly saying Levy's child is a class act.
He's giving him grief today, isn't he?
You're still wrong about Sanchez. You just don't know. I can't believe how much controversy that question actually arose. I can't believe it. I really thought we were going to gloss right over it. I really thought we were going to gloss. William Kelly and Stefan Blaise were just. I will say, David. They call it the Harris Army for a reason. They call it the Harris Army for the reason because they were absolutely, latching onto that question behind David. So I will say, Harris Army,
William Kelly.
Harris Army, well done. Well done to the Harris Army, Stefan Blaise and William Kelly especially. Well done. And also big yourself up. And William Kelly, big yourself up. Really appreciate the positive vibes. But finally, guys, I can now sign it off to David. That is the end of the show. It certainly was supposed to go a bit shorter, as it always is supposed to go a bit shorter than it usually does. But when you have great panelists and passionate discussions, sometimes it can bleed a bit over time. But David, off to you.
No, look, I did warn everybody at the start I was back, and I'm well and truly back, pumped up, ready to go. I want to say a massive thank you to Jack for providing such great questions. A massive thank you to Sean and Shane, who have provided unbelievable answers, talking points, great banter as well. Really enjoyed it. This is what it should all be about. You can disagree, but let's have fucking fun doing it. But look, before we do leave off, let's find out where we can find people. Let's start with Shane. Where can people find you, my man?
Oh, yes. So you can find me over at Paxton Road TV. Do you like that? I like that.
I got that for Christmas. What's my present?
I got it for Christmas, for real. I did. But in all honesty, firstly, smash a like, and if you haven't subscribed to this channel already, what are you doing? You've got to smash a like on both this and obviously Jack's channel as well as Sean's one. But you can find me at Paxton Road TV, YouTube, Paxton Road TV. And we'll be doing a show tomorrow, the preview show, and then the game on Saturday review show as well. So yeah, look out for us.
Absolutely love it. Honestly, do get over there. We're massive fans of the channel. I mean, if you like this channel, you're going to love that channel. Get over there and smash that subscribe button, and you will be seeing me over there tomorrow as well. So we can continue on the Sanchez. Where can we find you, brother?
You can find me at the Spurs Talk Show. Spurs Talk Show, all one word, on YouTube. At Spurs Talk Show on Twitter. It's a brand new channel, guys. I've only been doing this for like a month. I got 73 subscribers at the moment, so I'm catching up. I'm doing all I can, but you can find me on this channel quite frequently. Going to do a couple of bits on We Are Tottenham TV over January as well. But yeah, just getting going with my channel. So I'd love anyone who's willing to show a bit of love to go and try and get me to 100 as soon as possible. But that would be awesome. Thanks, guys.
guys, get over there, smash that subscribe button. Look, a lot of people love Daniel Levy's child here. Absolutely. So guys, again, if you're a big fan of Paxton Road, a big fan of this, do get over to Levy Spurs Talk over there. Make sure you do smash that subscribe button. But no, Sean, I love you, man. I love you. But look, Jacko, my man, where can we find you, brother?
Yep, they can find me over at flatcapeurotalk, especially when it comes to transfer-related questions and what we've basically been talking about all panel tonight or all show tonight when it comes to upgrades, when it comes to certain players in particular you feel like we should bring into Spurs, head on over to flatcapeurotalk. In fact, I just did a review of one of the players that we supposedly are rumored with, and I compared his sort of stats and attributes to the like of Emerson. I think it was a very kind of different video than what you're used to, as well as plenty of other players that we are rumored with. I will be doing over at Flat Cap Euro Talk. So basically all the sort of kind of Tottenham kind of transfers. If you want to know a bit about the player that we're linked with, head on over to Flat Cap Euro Talk, please.
No, honestly, look, I keep a Bible in my top drawer so I stay safe. Basically what I'm trying to say, the Bible to your transfer window is the Flat Cap Euro Talk. Get over there, drop the people's elbow on it and smash that subscribe button. Completely different to what any of these other channels offer. So make sure you get over there and do it. William Kelly, my man, he says, I've got your back, Davey boy. I'm right key to YouTube channels. No, look, probably am, same mentality. What I would say is it's a winner's mentality too. Right Keane won things, he won loads of things. Single-handedly, got booked, suspended for a Champions League final, but yet still dragged his team through it away at Juventus in the semi-final. The man's a legend, dragged Ireland through Portugal, through Holland, turned them all over. Absolutely adore the guy. But look, Roy Keane and YouTube channels, I'll fucking take that. Roy Keane makes good TV, William. So big yourself up, man. What I will say to everybody is it's absolutely brilliant to be back. I've had an absolute ball. Everybody, make sure you tune back in. New Year's Day, I don't even know what day it is anymore, to be honest with you, but New Year's Day, tune in. We'll be doing the pre-match build-up and the watch-along, so we'll have the two things going on this channel as well. And look, after the game, record your thoughts, send them in to us, and the best ones will go up on the channel after the game as well. But yeah, sorry, Shawnee.
Sorry, Dave. I've just seen in the comments. I was horrendously out of line when I was saying on the channels that you can find me on. I'm also very frequently on Tottenham Tantrum Gold, which is the newest, latest up and coming channel that have just got past their 200 subscriber mark. So you can find me there, but don't go there for me. Go there for those guys as well. They're awesome. Great team. Ben, Kuba, Phil Latis, and Dermot. So apologies to those guys for not calling that out. I'm sorry.
Can I make one more little plug as well? Just a little plug for us as well. If you are and you want to send any predictions for the score for the game on Saturday, please send them into this number by tomorrow. It is +44 7774 364 819. That's +44 7774 364 819. And as David has said, the best ones will get on screen.
Come on. Beautiful. That's what we're talking about. So big up. Make sure you do that, everybody. I'll grab the number off Sam. Anyone wants to do that, just let me know. Or actually, I'll drop it into the Irish Hotspur group chat. Anyone that wants to be a part of that as well, just get in contact. I'll send you the link. Come on in. It's one big family. We're all as deluded as each other. That's what makes it one crazy place to be. But everybody, if I don't see you before New Year, happy fucking New Year to y'all. Make sure you enjoy it. Hopefully we have a good year with Tottenham and a good year and maybe prosperous for everybody. And look, I'll see everybody New Year's Day tomorrow if you want to see more of me. Spurs related, and then Paxton Road. And then, look, maybe I might do Harris Cam from the parents or something when I'm over there celebrating New Year's. But no, look, honestly, make sure you smash that like, smash that subscribe button. And look, when the show is finished, just get a comment in underneath. Really does help with the algorithm. Call me an idiot, whatever you want to call me. I do not mind. Legend, maybe that'd be nicer. Just get it in because it really does help us out. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone who has tuned in for this whole show. A massive thank you to everybody who has supported us over this whole Christmas period and way before then. Honestly, it doesn't happen without you guys. So a massive, massive thank you. But as always, come on, you Spurs. In Conte we trust, baby.
In Conte we trust. In Conte we believe.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.